Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 54 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth gaming discussion podcast. I am your host as always, and joining me this week, I once again have both of the lovely Moriartys. First of all, Micah, how are you? I like your earrings.
Oh, thank you. Actually, yeah, my dad got me these gingerbread house earrings for Christmas, and I thought I'd be remiss if I didn't wear them before the winter season was over. So I was like, we're still in the post-Christmas time. Oh, yeah. I can get away with wearing these, I think, for a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, of course, Colin Moriarty. Colin, how are you, my friend?
Good. Brad, who is this?
Cutman.
That's right. That's an easy one. Easy one. It's good to see you. Everyone. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
It's over now, right? Happy New Year. Over. We're recording Happy January 6th to everyone that celebrates.
Yes, that's right.
Actually, Brad helped us with Christmas. I gave a shout out to Brad in the Discord because Colin surprised me with a Switch Lite for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And Brad, informed him which color I'd said I wanted on the show. This is how I know Brad and I are real pals. He could have said, "Oh, get that like horrible penis colored one," but he didn't. He didn't. He actually told Colin which one I really wanted. It would have been a funny thing to do, but I would have known like Brad doesn't like me. He told Colin to get the horrible pink one. But that's
I want you to have something to open because I got you a custom. Do you have it on a piece of jewelry?
No, it is downstairs.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, Colin got me a wonderful birthstone ring that I helped design. Nice. It's our two birthstones. Colin is not understanding that opals are not supposed to get wet. So I don't wear it 24/7 like I wear my wedding ring because I wash my hands between cooking, feeding the dogs. I wear it when I go out. Every time I leave the house, I pop on the ring, but I don't wear it at home because I have to take it off every time I wash my hands.
Remember, opals aren't supposed to get wet, even though they are in the fucking crust of the earth.
Oh, okay.
For millions and billions of years. Go
Google it. Google Opal Care and tell me that you want to replace it in a year when it's fucked.
Micah blew my mind because she was telling me that beans are poisonous. I didn't know this.
Wait, what?
Yeah, explain it, Micah.
Elaborate.
I gotta get my water. You explain it, Micah.
Yeah, so okay, we're watching an old Julia Child video. She was making the bean cassoulet, and she like really emphasized in the video. This is, of course, like old material. And she emphasized in the video that the U.S. Department of Agriculture approved a new method of quick soaking beans. And Colin kind of laughed about it, but I was like, the reason she's emphasizing it is because beans that are not fully softened are toxic. And he was like, what are you saying? I was like, it only takes 5 red kidney beans uncooked to like poison you and you'll have like severe gastrointestinal distress. And then he's like, I don't believe you. And he's Googling it. And it's, of course, true. But the point being that this was back then very new and quite scary to people that instead of soaking beans overnight to help them soften, you only had to boil them for like 2 minutes as like a pre-soak. And she's like really like going into it on the show, though. And it's like, yeah, because they're fucking toxic. And same with lentils, split peas. If you make split pea soup, they need to be tender. They don't have to be fully mush, but they need to be tender before you can eat them, or else you might, poison your family. I don't know if anyone's going to die, but you will be very sick. But and the thing is too, the prevalence of canned beans are completely safe always because they're fully cooked, tender. You don't have to worry about it. And that's what we use most of the time. So people don't really have to think about it anymore. But yeah, 5 red kidney beans is all it takes to really fuck up your day.
Damn.
I like thinking of like the Cro-Magnon finding wild kidney beans and then slowly killing themselves and then trying over and over again and killing more until they're like, oh, soak them in the water.
Yeah, it's the process of finding which mushrooms were safe. Like dude, how many people died until we were like, you know what? We're going to stick to these 5, basically. And fuck the rest of them.
Yeah.
I love thinking about that, like and like anthropologically, like institutional knowledge, they didn't write, obviously. It's not even clear when people started really communicating, maybe a couple 100,000 years ago. And so you think about all the stuff that's known, and then it just goes away. And it had to probably be rediscovered over and over and over and over and over again, which is funny when you think about it. And horrifying.
Like,
a little bit of...
how many people do you think died from eating blowfish
Oh, dude.
throughout history?
I don't know. A lot.
How would you know?
You don't.
It's
You just don't.
it's that really funny tweet from like several years ago, and it's like, imagine how fucked it was that like you're picking peanuts with your family, and like suddenly one of them just drops over and dies because they ate a peanut.
God,
and we don't understand allergies yet. Like, we have no clue why sometimes peanuts kill people, and it just happens randomly. You know, oh, there goes Bill. Well, all right, I guess peanuts were angry with us today.
Good Lord, man. World is a scary place. So much stuff can kill you that you just don't expect. It's too much. But guys, tell me about your break. We had a couple weeks off. It was very nice. I've been sick for like a week and a half though, so that sucked.
What do you have?
That's why my tree's still up for viewers. I've just been I'm better. I'm like much better now, but like I couldn't even like be bothered to get rid of my tree. So I don't
what
like
do you
it
have?
being
What's
too late.
What is your ailment?
I just had a cold. My nieces and nephew got me sick. They were all sick. So it just happened when you're around a bunch of snotty kids at that time.
Yeah.
But it was great.
Gross.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time off though. Did you guys do anything fun or just hang out?
I mean, we just hung out, right, Micah? I mean,
yeah. It was awesome though. Like, my dad was like on New Year's Eve, he goes, "What are you guys doing?" And I said, "Oh, nothing." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." I said, No, we are enjoying the nothing. I said, "We're going to go to brunch tomorrow, but tonight we're just hanging out. I'm playing my games." Like, it has been just a real relaxing holiday. And that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully everyone's nice and rested, ready to get back to work, because I sure am.
No.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
No, never rested. Never.
Micah stuff.
No, that's true. I mean, that goes without saying. I know I feel good, but I'm not happy. But it's like, but here I am. And no, it was good. I have a very hard time with vacations and breaks. Like, I don't know. I remember when I started working at IGN, I used to get really bummed on weekends because I had like no friends when I first worked there or whatever. And I had nothing to do and nowhere to be. And I'm like, damn, I just wish it was like Monday. So I like go to the office and like have something to do instead of just bouncing around and doing nothing. So I have a really hard time settling in. I don't like breaking cadences. I don't like, and also what I love about vacations is being relatively alone. Obviously I'm married and all of that, which is great. But beginning in college, I would just sometimes be like, nah, I'm not coming home. And I was reminiscing to Micah when I was at Northeastern, and I did that a couple of times where I'm like, I'm not going home for Christmas. It was the fucking best. Like the thing my family doesn't understand, and Micah and I were laughing about this, was my family's like, isn't that sad? Like when I tell them I wake up at like 12 or 1 in the afternoon and stay up all night and I don't really like socializing, and I'm not crazy. I love my family. They're wonderful people, but it's like, don't you miss like hanging out all the time and this? And I'm like, yeah, so I can listen to you guys talk about being teachers for 5 hours. It's a real blast for me. So I love just being alone. And I remember that first time I was at Northeastern, I must have been a sophomore or something like that. And everyone left and I was just there for Christmas. And I was like, this is fucking awesome. No one was in the dorms. No one was in the dining hall except for like random foreign students. You can go to the dining hall at any hour without having to worry about anything. And I loved that. And ever since I had that experience, and then people would start coming back and be like, ugh, And so when I was in California at IGN, I would not come home I would almost never go home for Thanksgiving. And then Christmas, I would usually not go home. And then my parents would be like, aren't you sad? Aren't you? And I'm like, this is fucking, are you crazy? All my roommates are gone. Everyone at IGN's gone. I'm not around anyone. I can just do whatever I want for like 10 days. So I tried to really imbibe that as much as I could this time around. And I had a hard time settling in at first. I wanted to, especially last year was tough because of the insomnia. The Insomniac leak really fucked last year up for me. And I know it sounds funny, but it's like that happened. And I'm like, I really feel like we should be doing something.
Oh,
it's crazy that we're not doing anything with this.
No, I had to like tie you down basically to be like, because what it came down to was I was like, you cannot bother Dustin and Chris. This is their time off too. we're not doing it. Like
Because
once I said
whatever I want, I don't care.
but you did care. You were like,
Yeah, no,
you're right. That was the thing is like, I said, if you want to record something by yourself, you can do it, but you're not bothering the gang. And you were like, okay. Like, you were like, that's fair. And then we did just leave it.
Right. No, you're right, babe. And then this year it was nice and easy. The only things that were interesting that were happening were like Nintendo leaks. They better announce that fucking thing before it just leaks completely. It's hysterical. It's all leaked
We'll
already.
get into that. We'll get into that tomorrow, Brad, won't we? But geez,
we sure will.
So yeah, it was easy. So after a couple of days, I just really settled in, and I'll tell you what, Brad, I mean, this is good for this show, and this is why I wanted to do this episode. I played so many games. Like I played. Yeah. I was trying to think of like hours wise. It must be 100 hours or something that I played, or maybe more than that in 2 weeks. You know,
Jeez,
every night, every day, every night, and it was great. And Micah was playing, and other than football and some interstitial family shit, like we had to go out to dinner with my dad and all this kind of stuff. It was like just hanging out. You know.
Yeah. Not to get you on a tirade, I have no idea, Colin.
Go ahead.
But how are the Jets doing right now?
The season's over. They finished.
Oh, okay, it's over now.
Yeah, 5-12. Horrible. Of course. And I was listening, so I went back because I knew I talked about this in my mailbag episode of Sacred Symbols Plus. So I went back and listened to it, and I recorded it almost a month ago. I think at this point, and I was like, we all know the Jets are going to rattle off 2 wins in the last few games at the end of the season. Fuck their draft order up. Ended up picking like 7th. I was absolutely right. You know, they win games that don't matter. Do you understand drafting in sports?
I understand the process of it, but I don't know like the order, like what determines
the team with the worst record drafts first the next year. The team with the second worst record drafts second. The team with the third worst record, and so the team that wins the Super Bowl drafts last. Okay. And then they do that 7 times every year. And that draft order is not very important in later rounds, but it's vital in the beginning. Like the difference between picking second or third and picking 10th is huge because you have the whole run of the board. You can trade your pick. You know, you can do all sorts of stuff. So the Jets, if they just lost, would have picked second. Damn. And because they won, they're picking 7th. And it's like, well, that's...
Yeah, they should have just thrown the game.
Yeah, but the problem is that players don't want to throw the game. The only people that want games to be thrown are the fans. Like the players aren't going, like, trust me, I've been rooting against the Jets for most of the year at this point. Every time they play, like it's awkward because when I was watching the game yesterday, they were playing the Dolphins. I'm like, God, just fucking lose. Why are you winning this game? You lose all the time. Why can't you lose this game? You know? Anyway, horrible. I'm glad it's over. We don't have a GM. We don't have a coach. So we have a lot to do in the offseason.
Wow. Okay. So I have a question. So like, let's say the Jets, whatever, they go first or second, they pick someone. Does that player have the ability to be like, I don't want to be on that team or something like that?
Technically not, but it happens every so often where teams make it. If a player doesn't want to play on a team, they'd have to sit out. And then and if they don't, so if you don't sign your contract, you can't play. And if you sign your contract and don't show up, which is actually what happened to one of the Jets players this year that was holding out, it's called tolling, which means that it's just like it just takes the whole contract and pushes it up a year. So if you had like a 4-year deal and you didn't show up, you just still have a 4-year deal the next year. The way that they get out of this is by basically making a stink. There are famous players that have done this. Eli Manning was one of them, famous quarterback who was going to get drafted by the Chargers back in the day and was like, and they were like, under no circumstances am I playing for the Chargers. And they literally didn't pick him. And so it does happen that like you can if you're good enough, it's usually a great quarterback can do it, but otherwise, and I'm of the mind, I mean, I've said this to Mike, I've said this to many people. If I were a great quarterback or a great player, I would want to go to a team like the Jets because it's like you could be the one. I think it was what Aaron Rodgers was thinking. Like, I'm going to be a fucking folk hero to this team. Because they've been so bad for so long, I'm going to win this, and they're going to erect a statue for me. And it ate him up too, you know, like the whole thing ate him up. So, but I would want that challenge as opposed to going to the good team, you know, that's already good. It's like, well, they don't need you. Don't you want to be part of the imprint that makes the team better? I mean, that's my whole thing as a competitor. But anyway, no one cares who's listening, so it doesn't matter.
No, I think it's interesting. It's like, I don't know how much difference one player can make. I know obviously the quarterback is a huge deal.
Quarterback can make all the difference. Quarterback's the most important position in any sport that I can imagine. Like Everything runs through. If you have a bad quarterback, you're fucked. I mean, it's over. It doesn't matter how. If you have all pro receivers and you have a quarterback that can't throw them the ball, you'd rather have receivers with concrete hands like the Jets have, and a good quarterback. But technically, both would be great.
Okay.
God forbid.
So wait, when's the Super Bowl?
February.
Okay.
This coming weekend will be the wild card weekend, which is like all the playoff teams play. And then they whittle that down by half the next week in the divisional round, then the conference finals or championships, then a bye week. So it's 5 weeks away.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Cool. Micah,
I love the
you're
playoffs.
Patriots. Yeah. You're a Patriots fan, right, Micah?
Yes.
How are they doing? Are they in the playoffs?
No.
Or are they out?
No,
Okay.
they had a bad season. We actually fired our coach yesterday after the last game. But
one season, that's incredible. He only got one season.
The thing is, no, and I think they would have given him more time. Our rookie quarterback shows like exceptional promise, and they really want to get a veteran coach for him. Like our coach, I think has a lot of potential, but it's like you have a rookie quarterback who is like really showing talent, and then you have a rookie coach who it's like we need someone to really hone this talent if we're going to turn him into something and not just ruin this kid, right?
I see.
The scuttlebutt is that they want Mike Vrabel. They feel like they missed out on getting him previously, and they don't want to miss out on him again. So I think to show how serious they are, they literally fired the coach after the game was over yesterday.
Damn.
And now we're going to see if we can get Mike Vrabel. That'd be pretty sweet. We got to build around him, obviously, as well. But yeah, no, it's not been a good season. But I mean, it shows a lot of promise. They showed a lot of promise that I was happy to see.
Yeah, I was
thrilled they won yesterday secretly, but I know because they were in the first pick. If they just lost, they would have gotten the first overall pick, and they blew it.
The Patriots? Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But
all right.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for asking.
No. I'm super curious about it. I wanted to know all that stuff like drafting, and I know people love that stuff. What's it? Like people get really into that. There's like some
fantasy
around it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and just bet. You have to understand that like betting is legal now in the United States. In most states in the United States now, you don't have to go to. I mean, first of all, everyone bets off book, but now that you can do it so mechanically, I think it's big. Dude, the NFL is fucking huge. I mean, I don't think people. Actually, I was reading this. So last year was a big deal. I don't know if you saw. Out of the 100 most watched TV shows or TV events, 91 of them were NFL games. On live TV, and that number dropped to 66 or something this year, but it's because of the debates. The World Series was big this year, Olympics was huge, and all that kind of stuff. But it's like a dominant cultural force, and I'm always surprised when most people aren't into it. But it's like what people say is like it's the last thing that draws major eyeballs at the same time. Like sports. Right, like just football. Like NBA's in bad shape. MLB is in bad shape. NHL is always kind of the same, kind of fine. Yeah. But so it's, I've said it before. I don't know if I pitched to you like this, Brad, but football is the great turn-based game.
Yeah.
And there's so much strategy. It's very video gamey. That's what's so surprising to me about people. It's like you have different players that play different positions, different body types, different skills and weaknesses and strengths. And you're swapping them out for the right situation and using weaknesses against, or strengths against the weaknesses of your other team. It's very role-playing game. And it stops over and over again. It's a total turn-based game. And you manipulate the clock, and there's all these different things. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful game. It really is. It's like, it's incredible. I hate that people don't, I hate that there's not a greater crossover with sports fans and video game fans. It exists. It's big, but it should be like a circle. It's all the same, Yeah. But I digress. And then you have real-time strategy games like hockey.
Yeah.
Where you're like changing players RTS, on the fly and like, it's cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it is cool. I think maybe if the game is cool. Maybe if the cast in the game were more interesting to like me, at least. Like, can I get like a little weird goblin in there or something like that? Like a fantasy thing?
What was that? Super Mutant Football? Alien? What was that? Or
yeah, exactly. Like that.
Yeah, whatever. That it was something like that on Super Nintendo, like, I want to say.
I need like a Krogan from Mass Effect playing football or something like that. That'd be much more interesting to me.
The problem, I think, is free agency is a really good thing. Free agency is like actually a newer concept of the last 40 years or so, like where you can actually move from team to team. Back in the day, it was much harder to move from team to team. And like in the 70s and the 80s. But those teams are iconic because they stayed together. And I think that's one of the major problems with football and other sports and the NBA especially. But it's actually one of the problems, or one of the things hockey does well. Teams stay the same for the most part for years. It's what people call it is rooting for the laundry. That's the term, because like you don't even get to really love someone. Dude, the Jets have drafted 5 or 6 quarterbacks the entire time I've been a fan. Plus we've signed 10 other ones that have played. And it's like, you can't really grasp on anyone because, you know, someone washes out or they get good and then they don't want to pay them. So they just move to a better team and all that kind of stuff. So I understand the whole like concept of you need things in the trenches to kind of grasp onto, and they're random and weird things. I'm a huge hockey fan. It's my favorite sport. My favorite hockey player of all time is Arturs Urbe, who is like a totally random player who never played for the Islanders. But I was like, he played for the Sharks for the most part in the Hurricanes, and I fucking loved him. You know, and like you got to have characters like that, right. And then you get into like the process of the season, you know. But I understand it's also a lot, you know.
There's a lot. There's a lot to keep up with. But I get it. I envy people that are into sports. I think it's so cool that people love that stuff. All right, guys. If you want to support us on Patreon, Last Stand Media, or on patreon.com/laststandmedia, if you want to support us, we'd greatly appreciate it. Please leave us a review on your podcast service of choice. Thumbs up, all that good stuff on YouTube. Yes, we are a video game podcast, by the way. We just kind of get off topic all the time. It's just the way we do it.
Deal with it.
I got no problem with that. Yeah, exactly.
I can't do a show without getting off topic. What are we on fucking AM radio? Like, what am I like? Got to go to break.
Yeah, we don't have like a producer like doing this, like pointing at his watch or something like that to us or anything. So we can do whatever we want.
I got 3 clocks in here. I could start pointing to them randomly. Yeah. I found a 4th clock in my closet that I forgot about, by the way. I'm tempted to bring her out, have another clock in here.
Yeah, get some clocks going.
I got 3 already.
There's no clock, man. That's kind of surprising. There is time, man.
No clock, man? Really? Yeah, I guess so.
It would be cool. Like you could have like a. Actually, it would be cool on, you know, because they always have things on their heads, like the clock on his head.
How's that not happened yet?
I don't know. There's time, and like some of them, you know, Flashman, Brightman, etc. They stop time, but I don't know. Something to think about.
Why does Brightman stop time?
I don't really know, but that's what he does. He has the big he has the big light bulb on his head.
Yeah,
that's a fucking sick design.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is a sick design. Yeah, a guy with a robot with a light bulb on his head. No, it's just
they're
because
so stupid,
when
but
you
awesome.
say it sounds exactly like they are really cool. I love the action figures that have been coming out and seeing them as you get them in the mail. But it is really funny if you just told someone this robot is so sick, he's got a light bulb on his head. Just the image of that in your mind is like, is it? Right. Is it really?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna here, Mike. I'll put in our chat on Discord. This is Summon Sign. I'll put a picture in there for you. You can see what he looks like. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, this guy's sick.
Yeah. I like that he's kind of round.
I don't know what his like purpose was before he was like created or reprogrammed or whatever. I got
Mega
Man. You would assume to light up something.
Yeah, like maybe he was like
going
put into mine shafts or something so they can see or something. I have no idea.
Mega Man. I made Light Man to go in the Nutty Putty Cave.
That's why Mike is doing our fake Dr. Wily voice that I do when we make up fake robot masters.
Oh, Dr. Wily. Dr. Wily. So good. Yeah, Mega Man is good stuff. Man, I miss Mega Man. Bring it back, Capcom. What's going on?
I think they will, dude. I think after that Onimusha trailer, I'm like, dude.
Yeah, anything's possible.
But they're gonna drop some shit that's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be like, whoa. Like this is what you're really getting. Like you're really doing it. You're doing what you should have been doing for many years. In addition to, like, I want Mega Man 12. I do, and X9. You got to get those out at some point. But those are the little ones compared to like what they could do. You know?
Sure. Yeah. Mega Man
very exciting. It'll happen. I believe it.
Just don't do another Battle Network game. Come on, guys. Don't start with that.
That was a place in time thing, wasn't it? I mean, Star Force was too, in some sense, where it was like, card battling games were somewhat big, but it's like Pokemon. What can we do with this? And they got enraptured with doing that kind of shit for a long time. I mean, that was what it all became.
Yeah, worked on people like Maddie. I was like, what is it?
I liked Battle Network I liked 1 and 2. I mean, especially the original one. I was like, this is cool. I just didn't think that they were going to get caught up. Do you have that obscure GameCube game, Network Transmission, that's based in that world?
No.
That game's hard as fuck. That I think is the hardest Mega Man game. That's a great game.
Interesting.
But God, it would be nice, wouldn't it, to bring that shit back and really do it right. Maybe even call it Rockman.
I wish Rockman get Bass and Treble in there.
Mm-hmm.
What was Proto Man's Japanese name?
Breakman, I think.
Breakman?
Or no, it was Blues.
Blues? Oh,
He's
that's a cool name.
In Mega Man 3 for some reason, and then they start calling him Proto Man later. I think it's Blues. I think is Proto Man.
He's red. Okay. All right, Inafune. I'm still mad about the Light Man or whatever stopping time. That's so stupid, dude.
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, he could have
Bright Man
blinded you, but I guess it would have been cool actually if it blinded the screen for a minute or for a second.
Yes, like flashbang.
Yeah. Well, Flashman stops you too, though. I think that was their way of blinding you. That could be it.
Yeah,
Flashman had a time stopper too. And then Centaur Man also had also stop time.
Centaur Man.
You can't just put words together, all right? Centaur Man.
Yeah.
Now we're just saying that. This is just silly. All right, this is like all the new Pokemon. Like now we're just getting silly with it. Creamy, the one that makes whipped cream.
Man is silly, but in a cool way. It's like I want Vacuum Man and stuff like that. Like let's get nuts.
Did you see the Roomba that got loose in California, Brad?
Wait, Roomba that got loose? No.
Last month, I only saw the headline this week, but last month, I guess after an earthquake, somebody's front door was open and a Roomba was just out in the street and he was just going down the street and people were videotaping it.
That's awesome. That's
Dude, cool. I put Centaur Man in the chat as well as you said Vacuum Man.
This guy.
Dust Man.
Yeah, Dust Man.
We had a few Roombas. The most recent Roomba's name I think was Dustman.
Yeah, it was Dustman. The first one was Roomba-san.
Roomba-san, right? And then you put the name in the app and stuff, and it rolled over Treble's poop, and we're like, I'm throwing this thing out. We got it on fucking Prime Day or whatever.
I want to say we cleaned it the first time.
I think the first several times. But
I don't want people to think we're that frivolous.
No, but I think what happened was,
a couple times.
Well, I am that frivolous. First of all, I am that frivolous. But second of all. We got the first one. I've bought 3 or 4 Roombas on my life, always on Prime Day. For some reason, they're always just really cheap. We're not talking about a lot of money. It's $130 or something. And it's okay. And the first one ran over dog poop several times, and we cleaned it every time. And then eventually we're throwing this thing out. It's fucking gross. And then the second time it happened to the second one, we just threw it out immediately. I'm not doing this. But what I was going to say was I still get text messages. Or, not text messages, but notifications from the iRobot app being Dustman hasn't been charged in a while, or things like that. I'm Dustman's fucking dead. He's been dead. He's been dead. But I keep forgetting to remove that app. We got to
deactivate it. Yeah.
Micah was saying that there's more intelligent iRobot ones with cameras on them, because it's not so much a problem anymore. But Treble, thank God, never peed inside, which is thank God. But she would poop because she's so small. It seemed like she didn't really understand how to hold her poop. And so it would happen every so often we would get it, but then you'd miss a little marble or something. And then the Roomba would go overnight and it would be the end,
The problem is that when Treble poops in the house, she doesn't just sit there and poop. She runs while pooping. So there will be 6 little poops. And you have to go find them all. And it's I know to look. I know. We would check every night before bed. We would be poop check just in case. Mm-hmm. And then we'd come downstairs and Roomba found one that was where did it come from? We don't know. But yeah, they have new Roombas with cameras on the front that are supposed to see poop and not create. Because it's not just about the Roomba being full of poop. It's about the fact that it skids it all over your home.
You're right. That's the big thing. Thank God we have hardwood floors downstairs, so it's not the end of the world. But it's just still gross.
Yeah, you don't want poop.
It's pretty heinous.
On your floor.
It's pretty, especially because it goes around. It depends on where it happens in the cycle, by the way. Like, if it finds the poop first, it is literally going to drag it around the entire downstairs. If it finds the poop last, it's just going to kind of be like in one section. But literally, it's like, yeah, the last time it happened, it rolled right over it. And then, like, just like the entire downstairs was just like, fucking, here's a dot to dot of where Roomba went last night.
God, dude. Poor Dust Man. Did not deserve that.
No.
No.
He went right into the
didn't.
fucking trash bin.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was also a differently designed Roomba that was much. The first one we had, like the brush roll was like this like solid piece of rubber basically, and it was really easy to clean. Hence why we cleaned it so many times before we finally were like, it's fucked. This one was different, and it was like just a nightmare. As soon as I started taking it apart, I'm like, this thing's never gonna be pure.
Yeah. Ugh. All right, let's see here. We got a writing from Chase Carter. As a devout SS member, who has
You can't say that.
who has been instructed to refrain from the term roll credits,
Ugh.
I humbly ask for a ruling from our Velcro-headed leader, Colin. How do you say this?
Marizare, I would. Yeah.
On the term Goaty. I doubled my monthly patronage to $2 a month. I hope this satiates the gods, old and new.
Thanks.
Let's see. There you go. Vero means true in Italian. Marizare means head in the clouds or lost in thought. All right, Colin, where do you stand on the term Goaty?
Hate it.
What's the royal decree? Okay, you hate it. What's the alternative?
Can't you just say game of the year?
No, it's too long.
Just like
you know what era we live in.
Yeah, I know. It is too long. I thought it was really adorable, actually. Kanye West tweeted a few or was on Instagram or something, and it was making the rounds that he was really enjoying The Last of Us Part 2. But he used a term that I haven't heard. I was brought back to my childhood, the elementary school. He called it a board, like the stage in The Last of Us that he was playing. He was like, it took me all day to beat this board or something. I'm like, oh my God, dude. We used to call stages boards. We did,
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's a true OG pull. I'll take that term over Goaty any day of the week. I don't know. I just don't. Game of the Year is cool. I know it makes sense. I just don't like that. This like delineation. Like I'm playing Silent Hill right now, right? But just because I didn't play it in time to consider it for the Game of the Year, it just missed out on that conversation for me. But it would be in there. And so it's like, well, now I've already done it. Now it's like, it's done. It's like, well, it's just this arbitrary thing. I want to talk about games like on a rolling basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's why I have a really hard time both modifying and even going into like my top 25 or like my top 10. Like it would be interesting to do those exercises with everyone, here. It's like, it would be like one of the toughest things I probably have ever done. Trying to like I have to meditate. I have to like go into the woods and like
darkness
think.
retreat.
Yeah, right. I have to go into a darkness retreat and really let it all wash over me and think, because I have all these instinctual answers.
Right.
It's like, oh, Symphony of the Night. It's like, but really, where is that? Like, or like Mega Man 3. It's like, I don't even think about it. I literally don't even think about it. So having these little categorizations and then making it even easier to talk about those categorizations by calling things Goaty. I'll pass. But thank you.
I thought you would be into that because it's more organizing things, putting them into little categories.
Yeah, but these are subjective categories. I'm into, and that's fun in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
But the objectivity is more interesting about like, why can't we talk about things a certain way in categorization, in genre, in the stratification of games and all of those kinds of things. I find that organization more interesting, like a scientific approach. And then there's like the subjectivity of criticizing games. Everyone's like, I know. It's like, I'm so chronically anti-score. It's like crazy. I hate it. I hate scores. I hate it. Dude, I'd go to bat at IGN even be like, we should get rid of scores. Let's try to get rid of scores. Like, and everyone would just look at me like I was a fucking retard. Probably because I was, because it was like so important.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I know, like we could even see and track and heat map, like people just scroll to the bottom of the page. It's like, yeah, okay. And then you put the most valuable ads there and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, I get it. But I did appreciate, I remember when Kotaku, when they were still like a relevant website, got rid of review scores. And I was like, bold, like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of categorization I'm less fond of. I want people to be able to talk about a product and like really get into it. And the by the year thing seems more for consumers than anything else, which is cool. But again, the Silent Hill example is just a great example for me. It's like, well, my game of the year list is like totally inaccurate. We like literally just published it.
It's just a moment in time thing. That's all you can
of course.
do with it.
Of course.
Yeah, that's how we feel in the moment. Yeah, like with review scores, you do a review and you're like, sometimes like I've done reviews and I'm like, oh, I would change that a little bit after time like that. It's just, I don't know. It's just the way it is. Can't get too hung up on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Colin. So yeah, you've been playing a lot of games. We're going to start with Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. Now, I got to know before we get into that, is this your first time going through these games?
No, but I never beat either of them. So okay. I bought and played both of them when they came out. I first kind of got into Doom. My dad's first 486, he had like this obscure Magitronic 486 computer in like the early 90s. And my cousin, who's like an IT, he's actually like the VP of I think he's actually the CEO of 1-800-Flowers right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. But he started in IT. 1-800-Flowers is a Long Island company. And he started this, or at least partially. And so, but he started in IT and he built this computer for my dad. And my dad was like going back to school or whatever at the time. He had got hurt in a fire. And so he was on light duty and he had time. And so he put a bunch of shit on the computer. And Doom was one of those things. And as a console kid, this was 93, 94. And as a console kid, this is at the time SNES pretty much entirely and a little NES still. Mm-hmm. I remember playing this thing and being like, this is so alien, like this literally, but it's like so foreign. What the fuck is this? Everything about it is weird. Controlling it is weird. Being in this 3D space is weird. But I was like fascinated by it and I would play it pretty often. And then I wasn't really that into Doom after that. And then Doom 3 was actually a touchstone for me on Xbox. And then again, I fell out of Doom. And you might remember, Brad, like when Doom 2016 was Doom 4 was what it was originally called. And it was like long delayed. And then they like redid it. And no one thought it was going to be good, especially because the previous game it had released was a game called Rage, which people remember, which kind of came and went. And Rage was cool. It's like Borderlands with better shooting maybe, but like it's more rigid and kind of like Fallout-esque in terms of its presentation. And there's a sequel, but Avalanche did the sequel, as I recall. It wasn't id. And so people were kind of down on id. Both of the founders were gone at that point, long gone. And then there was the beta for the multiplayer, remember? And people were like, oh my God, like it was fine, but it was like, what is this? And then it came out. I think it was the spring 2016. And people were like, holy shit, this game's fucking great. Like truly great. And I got it at the time. I got a code or whatever, and I played it. And then I stopped for some reason. This happens sometimes where I stopped, like especially at the end of games. I did it with Persona 4. I did it with the game Tunic, where I got to like the last boss, and I'm like, I don't know why, but I don't often do that, but it happens. And this was one of those games. I went back into the trophies and looked, and I'm like, I didn't realize how close to the end I was, because I wasn't earning any when I was playing through, and I platinumed Doom 2016 this go. But I wasn't earning any narrative trophies for like parts, for triggers, for story beats until the very, very, and I'm like, and I went and looked at the timestamps. I'm like, dude, like why didn't I just beat the game? Like it was crazy. So I beat it this time. I beat it, got all the collectibles. I even went online for the trophies for there, but I only spent like a half an hour online. And then Doom Eternal came out in 2020. I want to say the spring as well. I think I was living at my mom's at the time still, because I had just bought my house and it wasn't ready. We were in closing or whatever. So I was playing, various games at that time too. And I think that's why I got distracted with Doom Eternal, is I was just like, I played it for a little while and then I just like bounced off. But even then I looked at the trophies and I'm like, you got 60% through the game. Like what a waste of time. So they were both, I didn't remember much of either of them, especially the second one. So here's what I'll say about them is Doom 2016 is exceptional. Absolutely exceptional game. The gameplay is so fun in both games. Doom Eternal gets more chaotic and insane, and I think maybe even a little too crazy sometimes. Like it's like you can't even you're just like frantic, as opposed to it being more strategic in Doom 2016, where the game tells you, I was showing Micah, it's like the game tells you like keep moving, like you got to keep moving.
Yeah,
and that's what it's all about, and that's fun. It's like the anti-Call of Duty, where I'll play a Call of Duty campaign on veteran and like sit behind a pillar and wait for characters to come out for like 25 minutes. Like you can't do that in this game. You got to keep moving. And what I love about it is, first of all, the frame rate. You can play Doom 20. No, is it one of them at 120 frames on PS5?
It's probably Doom Eternal. Wait,
yeah, I would imagine so, because I don't think they patched 2016 for
I don't think
PS5. It would be fucking sick if they did that.
Yeah.
I did notice that they went in and edited. Like when a PS5 game comes on and it'll say like a little subtitle for it, or like some little blurb about it. Theirs says like, come experience the 2016 action game of the year or whatever. And I'm like, oh, they went back and edited this. Smart, to make it like more forever, which I think was really cool, eye catching. But the whole thing with the combat is you have ultimately a litany of weapons, a couple of shotguns, you have a machine gun and like a chain gun and whatever. And you can upgrade them, and they all have like multiple, or most of them have like multiple firing options. So like I became really in love with the combat shotgun's grenade launcher, which I just used like half the time. But you have to like constantly switch your weapons. Like it makes you use all of your weapons because you run out of ammo, and then you use a chainsaw to get more ammo out of enemies as you kill them. But your chainsaw has fuel, so you have to like find the fuel. It's like everything goes into another piece of the puzzle, and they all hinge on each other. And it brings this really beautiful combat circle that isn't unlike the original Dooms. It's just way crazier and more difficult. I'm a pretty big fan of boomer shooters. I played a few of them this past year, like the newer ones. And I actually went and bought the Doom 1 and 2 package with PlayStation Stars points, because I'd like to get back into those. And like I never played the expansion packs and shit like that, so I have no idea what's going on with these games. So they all had this like kinetic movement-based combat, which is cool, but it felt it was symphonic in Doom 20. Like Doom 2016 is one of the great shooters of all time. Like joins the list of games that I really hold in high regard, random ones like Singularity and things like that from a narrative standpoint. But then just the gameplay is unlike anything. When you think about Resistance 3, the Killzone games have cool stories and stuff like that. Like there's a lot married in there, and they're also really beautiful. I was showing that the first stage in Doom 2016 is like Mars. And I'm like, this is fucking amazing. Like this is almost 10 years old, and this looks absolutely amazing. And what Micah and I were saying as I was playing was, I was like, games don't need to look any better than this. Like how much better is it going to, especially with Doom Eternal, like how much better can you make a game look than this? It's a certain stylistic choice and all of that. It has to run really fast. So, and the game is just so snappy, but it's like, damn, dude, you're kind of like peaking out here in terms of what I'm looking for in graphics. Like, unless you're going for like really grounded, realistic, human, then you can, obviously you're going to get more and more into the uncanny valley and all that kind of stuff. But with a stylistic flair, I think this game just makes all of the right choices from an aesthetic point of view as well. I think Doom Eternal, so the major thing about Doom Eternal is it has a hub world, which I think is fucking weird. And I remember that from the original one, and I must have talked about it then on Sacred or whatever, where I was like, this sucks. It's basically like a spaceship that Doom guy goes to, and it's a product of its time. It's like, what was cool about 2016 was it was like next stage. Like, I don't give a fuck about going to some spaceship and like upgrading my character. I can do that in the menus. Like, let's get going. I hope to God the new Doom does not have that, because it really hurts the game, in my opinion, in a major way. It's like you're back at your spaceship, and now you use these little batteries you found to like open compartments and get things. It's like, all right, guys, like I want to fight, so I hope that they learn their lesson from that. But Doom Eternal, I think also its combat, it's not that it's more difficult. It's just so chaotic sometimes that you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I survived. And there is a good feeling from that, but you don't even know what you did. Like, you're just running around. Like, you can't even like turn around. You have like no time to think. And I'm like, there's got to be a better balance than that. I feel like Doom 2016 had these really intentional set piece battles that were just a lot more solid, and they felt, I think, in Eternal to some degree like they had to reinvent the wheel. And my hope is with the Dark Ages that they're like, no, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We'll just set it somewhere else, and do like a different sort of aesthetic. And even when I was watching the trailer for the new one, with having played and beaten both Doom and Doom Eternal now in recent memory, I was like, wow, even the enemies are all the same. It's like all the same types of enemies. It's just maybe reskins or a little bit of a different panache on them. So anyway, generally speaking, I highly recommend both of these games. I would get the platinum in Doom Eternal, but it requires playing its online mode, which is called battle mode, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's really apparently not good. And I did it's like an asymmetrical demon versus hunter sort of.
Oh yeah, I played that
setup.
a little bit. I remember trying it. Yeah.
And I played the tutorial. It makes you play like this whole tutorial thing, which is good before you even, like, when you select multiplayer for the first time. So I did it, and I was like, this kind of sucks. Like, I can't see myself doing this, as opposed to, and the asks are pretty high. It's going to take like hours to do, which is fine. As opposed to the asks on Doom 2016's trophy list was like, get your character to level 5, win a match. It's like, okay, I can do that. So I don't think I'm going to dedicate the time necessary to do that. But I did buy on sale the DLC, and I'm going to get into that in the coming weeks, I think, as well, before I forget how to play the games entirely. So anyway, that's a lot, but Doom Eternal is great, but Doom 2016 is where it's at, in my opinion. Really, it makes me more excited than ever to play this new Doom,
Yeah. It's funny. I love both of them. I think I prefer Eternal slightly more. Now, this is kind of maybe strange, but to some people, but so I played them both on PC, and I think mouse and keyboard makes a huge difference in a Doom Eternal, especially because the movement is so, like you were saying, frantic and chaotic, the battles. So I really felt like way more in control. Like, I couldn't imagine moving around and like turning on a controller because it'd just be so much slower for me. So I think it really just dialed into it. And I loved like some of the enemy strategy, like the Marauder. I know he's a divisive enemy, but I loved fighting.
Which one is the Marauder?
That's like the one that has like the intro and he's like talking to you. He has the shotgun as well.
Oh yeah. And you have to, he turns green and you shoot him.
Yeah.
And freeze him. Yeah. Annoying.
It's like, I love the depth and strategy and that kind of stuff.
Well, I like when he appears while you're fighting other enemies, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, you have to deal with him.
Yeah.
Because you're right. First you deal with him like by himself and you learn how to fight him. And then and then they start introducing, and then they'll introduce multiple ones. And it's hard. It's a hard game. I died a lot more in Eternal.
It's a tough ass game for sure. And you nailed it. It's like, I remember playing through that game and you like feel like you're fighting for your life getting through these encounters. And I think I just really appreciate that. Like you said, you cannot stop moving. If you stop moving, you're going to die like immediately on the hard.
Yeah, you'll get shot by, it's like grenade spam in World at War, where it's like, if you stop moving suddenly, you're just going to get shot from like 8 different directions. Like, you got to just, it's fun. And it's a management game in some way, like in these set pieces where you have to like take a lay of the land and be like, all right, I'm just like running around just to figure things out. And if I run into an enemy, a fucking shotgun blast to the chest and get them out of the way, but I'm just trying to, like, what do they call it? Kite them, right? That's
yeah.
And then
that's the term.
Yeah, and it is, dude. One thing I loved doing in Eternal that was like a symphony of like moves. It was so fun. You get the flamethrower. If you light enemies on fire in Doom Eternal and then attack them, they drop armor. Mm-hmm. And so it would be fun to, like, with more fodderish type enemies, like there's 3 or 4 of them, turn around, light them on fire, and then just throw a grenade in the middle of them, and they all explode and they just give you a shit ton of armor. You like just figure things like that out, which is just really, really, really fun. And it's funny, I was asking Micah likes shooters, so I was like, you might like this game, and she's like, the aesthetics it's a little too bloody and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, it's funny you read it like that, because
too bloody. You like Gears of War. Doesn't make sense.
Well, what I was going to say was this level of violence and gore is so insane that it's not scary at all. Like, the way I read it. Like, I saw this video recently, like in one of my, freak out videos of this dude like punching a window and cutting his arm open. I had it's exactly right. I saw, like, you see the punch and you see the blood just appear on the glass, and I just turned it off. I didn't even see it. I'm like, I can't. That's like, but
Yeah.
that's real violence. You know, this is insane. So like to me, it's just like in other words, like it's not scary at all because it's fucking crazy. You know?
Well, yeah, it's not scary. I just literally movies, games, TV. I don't like things that are overly gory. I find it nauseating. So I just have my limits. Gears art style is still so cartoonish that when you shoot, you know, a locust and he like bursts into pieces, it happens very quickly, you know, for the most part, especially like online, the animations are quite snappy. And it's also just the art style. It's like, well, it just looks much more cartoony. But watching you play this, I was like, you know, this gameplay looks really cool, but like a fountain of blood just came out of this guy and it lasted like, you know, 6 seconds.
Yeah,
it wasn't
awesome.
a quick explosion and the guy's gone. It's like, no, the blood is like still splattering. And I'm like, it's just yucky. Honestly, I'm just not into that because the gameplay does look excellent.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe because
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Like maybe just because Gears of War has like a little tone in the sense, like, you know, you blow off a locust head and you hear a cold train just go like, wow, or some shit like that. It, like,
exactly.
Just to you.
My favorite character, Damon Baird, and he has all his wacky catchphrases. Like if you get a headshot, he'll say lobotomized. If you use the flamethrower, he'll say, I like mine well done. It does add a lot of more humor to it. That's very good point. The tone matters because Gears of War does have a silliness to it that this game, it's comical that it's so over the top, but it's not like the Doom guys cracking jokes back here.
Yeah, Doom guy doesn't talk. He should not talk though, so it's perfect. No. He should not say anything.
I was just going to say
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say like I think video game violence can play, and like that there is overt violence that really affects gameplay in a good way. I think The Last of Us, for instance, and The Last of Us Part 2 are like some of the most violent. That's why I'm surprised that more people don't even like them, or it's like these are truly violent, fucked up games.
Yeah, Last of Us is extremely violent.
And I love that it makes you feel the deaths or whatever. But I also think that it could be like narrative based too. Like though it is a PS3 game, I think Spec Ops: The Line is one of the most violent games I've ever played. And
sure,
I love that like you're fighting American soldiers and shit, like, and that like you're fighting you or you're people you would know or be more familiar with. Games don't make you do that, and you hear them screaming in horror, and like it's cool like that. So that level of violence I think adds to and can enhance an experience, but it's because it's grounded. It would be hard for anything that's like fake violent for it to ever mean anything to me in some sense.
Sure,
you know? It comes off as funny in some sense.
Yeah,
like, yeah. Anyway,
what'd you think of the soundtrack for both games?
They're excellent. It's Mick Gordon, right? For Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, right? But not.
Yeah, it's like a weird, complicated thing. I'm not exactly sure the details of it.
And I know he has like beef with them or whatever. It's not, you know, with it like major beef. But I don't know. I know that Chris knows more about that and is way more invested in that than I am. The music's excellent. It's intense. And again, this is a differentiator. Like it's just, the game is metal.
Yeah.
You should lean. It's totally metal. It would be weird if you put a hip hop soundtrack over Doom or, you know, video game-esque Final Fantasy music or whatever. It's like, no, this is exactly what it should be. And I remember he did that. It must have been 2016 or maybe it was to announce Eternal or something. He did that. He did a couple of them, but there was one really awesome VGA performance they did of some of the music where I was like, this is fucking awesome. Yeah. And he's like just running around playing the guitar and like fucking, you know, thrashing. And so, yeah, it's good. It's not that important to me. The more important and interesting thing to me is the storyline, especially in the first one. The second one's a little weirder, but it's like they really they always kind of put a little more time and effort into the story than people gave them credit for, even in the original ones, just in terms of environmental storytelling and even stuff you would have to read, you know, back in the box sort of stuff, but to set the premise. But I thought it was really like an interesting hodgepodge of horror, sci-fi, you know, hard sci-fi, but then like fantastical time travel and a little bit of fantasy elements. Right. That's why I want to see. I know that this new one is literally a prequel. It'll be interesting to see how they set it and like what the premise is and how they wedge it all in, because these three games are supposed to speak to each other. So,
yeah. Yeah, because there's like diary entries I remember, and I always loved like some of them in hell. It's like the demons talking about the Doomslayer and how he's just like a terror upon all of them. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
And like they're harnessing the energy from hell for like, you know, energy, I guess. So that's all really cool stuff. Like,
yeah, and that they send people in and out. You know, like one of the cool things I think about the codices for the enemies, especially in 2016, is it's written from the perspective of like, you know, researchers, and how the more difficult the enemies become, like the less they know about them, to the point where they get into like, if you start reading about them, like some of them create like mini boss type enemies where they're like, we've never captured one alive. What we understand is only from observation, only X amount of people have ever survived an encounter with this. And Doom Eternal is cool too, because they show other Doomslayer type characters. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's not very spoilery. And like you see other humans and how much they both respect, revere, and fear the Doomslayer. Yeah. You know, it's not like Master Chief in some sense, which is kind of cool, but like a scarier version of that, where it's like where they like there's one character like you're interacting with, and he's like way smaller than you, and kind of he's like really into you and wants to talk to you, but he's also kind of afraid of you, and you kind of just like push him away. You know, it's cool.
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, there's like that scene you walk in where there's like all that battle going on. Like it's like when you launch the cannon and everyone just stares at you. There's hope, like the Master Chief hope, but they're, like you said, also terrified. It's so good, man. I can't believe Xbox said no to the secret level with Doomslayer and Master Chief.
I believe it. They're not an entertainment company. How many times do I have to say this? They don't understand it. You know, like they own all of these amazing things and they just don't get what to do with them. It's weird. You know?
It's so frustrating.
That sound like what did they go into the room when that was pitched and they said like, oh, Doom and Halo. That sounds too cool. Sorry, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Thanks anyway.
Yeah.
That would be too popular.
Yeah.
We don't want that. But thank you.
Yeah. God, it's disgusting, frankly. What are you guys doing?
What Doom needs is a Castlevania-like series of cartoons. That's what I think Doom needs.
Yeah. You gotta be careful with Doom guy. I don't want him talking a lot if he talks.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's cool. Like, respect the sanctity of him. One of the things I love, and I pointed this out aesthetically too, Micah and I were talking about it. I was like, I love that you can see through his visor.
Yeah, his face.
Because, you know, in the original games, in the art, it's like the translucent, cool guy, Oakley sunglass thing, you know, where it's like you can't see. But I love it's that's an intentional choice to show that he's real, like that there's someone there, you know, which I think is a cool little touch to.
Yeah,
you don't want to get too deep into Doom, right? It's not like that serious, but it's cool, you know.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about the new one.
Oh yeah,
I think they're going to announce the date, right?
Probably pretty soon.
At that direct that they're going to do in the next week or two. So
yeah, cool. That's the rumor. Yeah, so we'll see. Very excited about it as well. Let's see here. Phil Walker wrote in, Colin, stoked to see you've been diving into Doom Eternal. For me, it's one of the great pure shooters. I love the confidence and attention of the game's combat design. It demands that you play it on the developer's terms, not to mention a great map and collectibles that made 100%ing the game a joy. I know there's some contention between this and 2016 as to which is the better game. Where do you land? Eternal is one of the true goats of action gaming MIO, head and shoulders above the still excellent 2016 reboot. Also, Dark Ages is my most anticipated 2025. Cheers, gang, from Phil. Yeah, you're more slightly in the 2016 camp.
Right? Yeah, I just think this is really mostly about just the cadence of stages. It's like, what? Because I feel like, did Arcane or Machine Games do this with that interstitial Wolfenstein game too, where they, I don't know if it was Youngblood or whatever, where they also gave it like a hub world. And it's like, what is this, dude?
I can't remember if it had that.
It really is just a product of the times. It's like, yeah, people want to fucking be the Doomslayer. And it's like, no, they don't. Like, I think they want to play the game. Like, you don't need to, this is all about gameplay. So that really does hurt Eternal for me, because you have to deal with it, you know? But I also I don't know. I think Doom 2016, it's the right length. I think the right difficulty. But you could take both of them are kind of the same in some sense too.
Sure.
So I don't want to make it seem like one is necessarily that much better than the other. I think you should play them.
Yeah.
You should definitely play them both
excellent.
if you can. You know?
They're both so good. Play them both. You got to.
Yeah, shout out to id, man. I mean, they've really kept their culture intact and even, I think, revived it. They're a long, long ways off from where they were when they released Doom and Quake and all those games. And I think that they've attracted like the right personnel to get this stuff going, and it's great. So I'm excited. We'll see how the new one does.
Yeah. Okay, Micah, you finished The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. I didn't even know you're playing this till recently. I was like, what? Micah is a machine right now. I thought you were going to play another game because you just beat a Zelda recently. But talk to me about it.
Yeah, so little overview. I finished this in about 15 hours. The Nintendo Switch Online tells you like down to the minute how long you played, but it literally says like 900 whatever minutes, and then you got to go do the math on it. So about
Nintendo,
15 hours for me to play it. Little spoiler-free overview. If you're not familiar with this title, Link has to seek the help of this legendary group of tiny people who are known as the Minish in order to save the day, as he always does. And he is himself going to transform into Tiny Link in order to unveil some secrets on the map and within Hyrule so that he can accomplish his goal. It's very cute. Like, one of the number one things is that this game is exceptionally cute. I love seeing him transform into the little tiny Link, and you can still do your sword slash and like your roll, but like you're just this itty bitty like grain of sand on the screen. It's adorable. I beat this game very quickly because I was just having so much fun with it. The hero's name was Bunt in my game because that's just the first thing I thought of. I made it all caps. Is it always all caps, or am I just not figuring out how to make it lowercase? You're supposed to be able to do lowercase?
No, you can make it lowercase. There's probably like a button, like a down arrow or whatever.
I couldn't find it. Every Zelda game I play, like whether it's Bort or Bunt, it's always all caps. And so then it's always like everyone's yelling at me when they're like, "Oh, hey, Bunt."
That's so funny, man, because in games like in the SNES era, they would always put, like if you played Final Fantasy, it would always make your names capital, and I would delete it, but put the right name with it because it would bother me. So it's fun. That's funny, man.
Yeah. One thing I really liked in this game is just the fact that you have all these tiny details to keep an eye out for. The game really trains you to start looking for them the more and more that you play. It's something I struggled with at first, especially in like the overworld sections where you're just trying to figure out, how do I get to the next place where I need to go? How do I get to the next temple area? But the game really gets you to start looking for these little tiny details, like this teeny tiny little ladder. And then you say, oh, all right, I got to find a place where I can become Tiny Link and then I can climb the ladder. Or I find these itty bitty little flower path. I got to go find a place where I can go shrink and then go down that path. So the game really helps you to like slow down, smell the roses as it were, and really just like scan around and see what's possible. I wasn't the best at doing that. I did need a guide primarily for the overworld sections. I would walk around and like look for things and still just be like, I don't know what you're asking for me, man. So I did use a guide at times. There were just things where I'm like, I'm not figuring this out by myself. It's too abstract. And then once I'd see it, I was like, oh, kind of obvious once you know, but I didn't want to lose enthusiasm. That's the main thing for me as I play these is I'm going to always give it the old college try. Okay. You're telling me I need to make it up to the northwestern corner of the map. I'm going to try to get there. But after 15 minutes, I'm going to check the guide because I don't want to lose enthusiasm. I don't want to get discouraged. And it was the same in this. I played this on Nintendo Switch Online and using the rewind feature. A major thing in this game that is different from the other Zelda games I played so far was that there were way more timing-based challenges. Other Zelda games will have you do things that are timed, like you gotta pull the lever and then you gotta get to the door before it shuts again, right? This game had so many timing-based things because one of the mechanics is that you can duplicate yourself and then you have a short window of time to actually complete the task with your clone, and your clone can get hurt and disappear. And there were so many more of those that I ended up using the rewind feature when typically I'm kind of against it. But I was like, this is all timing based and I just don't want to I just don't want to
Yeah,
lose
that's fun.
enthusiasm, you know?
Yeah.
There were so many moments like that where I was just like, geez, man, I don't know if I can do this without the rewind. So I put my pride aside and just, used it shamelessly. And it was really fun that way. I admit that I'm not the best at some of these games, but this makes it, Micah able to play, basically.
Yeah.
I'd say that the dungeons in this game are like a medium challenge because that's where I didn't have as much problem. Like the overworld, figuring out who to talk to and like what to do was the hard part. The puzzles in the dungeon were pretty approachable to me. And then like the timing based stuff is what I struggled with, just not being like the quickest gamer on the block. But, things I would miss were the classic, oh, I was supposed to bomb that wall and I just missed it when I walked by. That's the type of stuff that I would end up checking the guide because it's like, I have all the keys and I can't find a locked door. Oh, I was supposed to blow up that wall. There it is. So,
Mhm.
but I would say that the dungeons in this game were easier than some of the other Zelda games I have played so far. And like another thing I kept missing was tasks that I could accomplish, but I thought I couldn't because I wasn't utilizing all my tools the right way. So, you get an item very early in the game and then you might not use it for a while. And then like 2 dungeons later, they bring it back, but I have forgotten. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And then I check the guide and it's like, oh, I can do that. Things like that. The more tools that you pick up along the way, the more skills you have to remember to utilize later. And I just kind of forget them eventually. And that's the things I would just be like stumped on because I'm not realizing I actually have the power to do this and I'm just not figuring it out. But I just am consulting my notes here. This game's really funny. This game is really humorous. I loved the tone of it. This was something very different and distinct from some of the other Zeldas. This is a really funny game. They can't like Nintendo like really dunks on you here. Like you have your little sidekick and he's like, if you need help, ask. And then if you ask, he's like, I can't believe you forgot what we're doing. And he's like razzing you about it. It was just like, I loved like his sassy demeanor. I liked the townspeople were kind of sassy with you. There's a ton of humor in this game. There's this whole kind of like mini quest of fusing these like kinstones is what they're called. You find these random like half coins around the world and then you fuse them with other people's. You have to match up the shapes. And it becomes like a very big deal. But there's also like a good amount of humor in that, like there's weird characters for you to find and fuse the stones with. And sometimes it's like you'll get something really important, like, oh, we got a heart piece because we did this. And other times it's like just fucking stupid and it's like a waste of time. But it is fun. Sometimes they tie it to the main quest. Sometimes it's just for kicks. This is a game that you could definitely get lost in. Like if I was a kid and I got this for Christmas, you could spend months playing this, talking to every single townsperson, fusing stones with every person that you meet, going to every corner of the map to look for treasure chests. Like this is a game you could spend a ton of time with and feel like you still never saw it all. I kind of did a faster playthrough of it because I didn't want to explore for hours on end. I did just kind of want to get through the main, quest and everything. But it was a really cool experience to finally get to this one. And also just to see like, oh man, this is neat that this was all, on the Game Boy here. Like it is a really big map for you to get through relatively, right? Compared to some of the Game Boy games I was playing as a kid, I'm like, there's so much here. There are so many people in this town, so many things to interact with, so many like dynamic things that happen that I was just really impressed by it the more and more that I played it. So yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I'd say it's like a medium difficulty compared to what I've played so far. And, the only dislikes I have, this game is very stingy with hearts. They give you a ton of money. I had way too much money, like way too much money. But they give you like no hearts during the dungeons, during combat. You'll get a couple like right before a boss battle, which is very helpful. But it was like, dude, I literally have, $500. Every pot that I break open is more money. And you can't get a single fucking heart in here. And every enemy you defeat gives you money and no hearts. I'm like, that was weird. That was a weird choice. The other thing is that you cannot advance the text any faster. And it's the little things, like every time you get a fairy, it has to tell you how fairies work, and you can't advance it any quicker. You just have to wait for it to appear. Yeah, or every time you pick up a kinstone, it tells you what kinstones do, and you can't advance it. And I'm like, bro.
Thing, yeah.
And I'm like, you gotta just let me click through this faster. I've picked up 1,000 of these fucking stones. I know what they do. But yeah, besides those couple things, I really enjoyed this experience. And those are such minor, things, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
it gives you a spiel, every time you pick up a kinstone, so what? And that's really, my praise for this is very high, because those are the only complaints that I had.
Yeah, what did you think about like the visual style of it? This was Game Boy Advance, so it was after Wind Waker. It seems like all the handheld games for a little while were modeled after Wind Waker, and I know you like Wind Waker visually a lot. So did the aesthetics do it for you a lot this time?
Oh, this was it was adorable. My favorite thing is that whenever you talk to, so you have your little sidekick hat named Eslo. Whenever you talk to him, Link's pixelated little face looks like he's kind of like, what now? Like he's making this like sassy little face. It is just like the style of, everybody is adorable. I love the character little designs and the world itself being so bright and colorful. The enemies are really cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed the art style, and the cutscenes are very few, but the few that are in there look, really cool. I love this little Wind Waker-ish looking Link. That is my favorite style.
Yeah.
I haven't played Wind Waker yet. We're still hoping it comes to the next Switch, but I adore that style. The king looked great. The king, he was the Wind Waker king right there. He looked excellent.
Not the boat though.
He wasn't the boat. He was not the boat, which we prefer, but as the regular old king, he was great.
What did you think of Vati? I think this was his first introduction, the villain.
Yes.
When Mage.
Yeah, confused at first, thought it was a girl. And I was like, oh, interesting, female villain. And then they were like, he's evil. I'm like, oh, all right, just a girl voice, got it. Because it was just one of those, like, I don't know why he had a woman do his voice, but okay. I don't know if it actually is, but it sounds like it. All right. And I was like, well, strange choice. You're trying to tell me this is a man, and it sounds like I'm laughing, but okay. Yeah. I like the design. I like the little story that they tell here. Vati is essentially on a quest, to take over the world as per usual in Zelda's world. Nobody, I gotta be honest, if everyone's trying to take over, is the king really doing so hot? Like maybe there's a reason why people are constantly trying to take over. Right? Maybe the king is very oppressive and we don't know that.
Yeah. Well, Zelda timeline is insane. So it's like thousands of years apart often between them. So maybe it's not that frequent it happens.
And there's isn't there a point where the games diverge too in terms of...
Oh yeah. Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. Ocarina of Time, right. Whether that's cool. Which is cool. I think Vati, I think Minish Cap is Vati's last appearance, not his first. Because I think he appears in Four Swords.
He was Four Swords before this. I can't remember.
I think so.
Okay. So yeah, Four Swords in this. And I think that was it for him.
My Nintendo nerd. Just that's still when I was engaged.
It confuses me because GBA was out in GameCube era, so I never really remember.
Yeah, the three pillars.
Yeah.
I think Four Swords is 2004. And then I think this is 2005 in the States. It came out early 2005. So they're all on top of each other. And then there's Four Swords Adventure, which is also 2004, I think, and that's on GameCube.
Four Swords. Oh, yeah, that's right. Was he in Four Swords, the Link to the Past one?
No, I don't think. Well, no, because that was like a multiplayer component where it was like Link to the Past. Yeah, I don't remember that being in there.
I think, yeah.
So I think it would be Four Swords Adventure, but maybe he is in Four Swords too. I don't know. People wouldn't know. Don't tell me. I don't care.
Yeah, don't tell me either, actually.
I don't have any more room for Vati knowledge, unfortunately.
Micah, I've only played through this game once, so I played through it when it came out, and I remember enjoying it. It wasn't like one of my favorite ones, but I remember having a good time. Can you tell me, because it's just been so long, I barely remember, what was your favorite dungeon in the game? I remember there's like a cloud one, maybe, later on.
Yeah, so there's the Cloud Tops is like the mini dungeon before the Wind Palace. That was my favorite section, I think, of the game. The Wind Palace had some like challenging jumps for you to do, but aside from that and from, abusing the rewind function, those were like the puzzles I jived with the most. Like some of the earlier dungeons, there's like this ice dungeon that has all these slider puzzles, and I just could not. I sat for 20 minutes like trying to figure one of them out, and then as soon as I saw the answer, I was like, I've just been drinking dumb bitch juice, I guess. I don't know, because as soon as I saw the answer, it was obvious. But the Wind Palace was the one I understood most easily. Like, I hated the swamp, Castor Wilds. I fucking hated that place. Part of it was just the aesthetic. Part of it was like I just kept getting turned around. And part of like my difficulty with some of these is I somehow end up doing things out of order. So I get all the way to the locked door, no key. Now I got to backtrack. Where's this key that I missed? Or sometimes, like I said, I end up with a bunch of keys and I can't find a single locked door. Once again, it's like I have missed a turnoff somewhere and I'm just like wandering around aimlessly. But yeah, my favorite one was, I think, the Wind Palace. I liked the way they mixed things up once they added that jump mechanic. And they have you just sort of like, they'd have these like panels on the floor that you jump down through or jump back up through. You had to kind of do some quick maneuvering between like these floating platforms. I just enjoyed that section a lot. I also just liked the lore of like the wind people. I thought they were pretty sweet. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite section.
Cool.
I liked the ice section for what it did mechanically. Like it felt really cool that you're slipping around on the ice as you walk around like that. It was really well done. But man, those fucking slider puzzles, man, I couldn't hack it with those.
Where would you rate this in the ones you've played so far?
Okay, so I have my list of the Zelda games I have played. Because of the Zelda games I've beaten, we went Echoes of Wisdom, Link's Awakening, Link Between Worlds, Ocarina of Time, Minish Cap. As of right now, I kind of am putting it. I think I kind of am putting it last. I like them all. I've liked them all of the ones I've beat. I like them all so far. Like excluding Echoes of Wisdom, I think Link's Awakening might still be my favorite of them. Because aside from like the quest where you had to like trade stuff with a bunch of people, it was a little easier to figure out what the fuck you were supposed to do. Like aside from that thing where you had to like trade in sequence with all these people and find random items under a bridge and like places you'd never go. Aside from that, it was a little less like obtuse to kind of find your way around. But it's like me putting it last is like me saying like, oh, between pizza and hamburgers, I'll have a pizza first, hamburger second. Like I love them both so much. You have to understand, It's like I'm ranking Chili's and Applebee's and 99. Like they're all S tier restaurants. Okay.
99?
99?
Oh man, I fucking love the 99.
I didn't know that.
Well, in that, it goes Chili's. Of those restaurants, it goes Chili's, Applebee's, 99. Now, Cracker Barrel is above all of those.
Right.
Of course it is. But yeah, Chili's, then Applebee's, then I love the 99. You can't go wrong.
We're sitting on a small dragon's hoard of Cracker Barrel money right now from our...
we got so many barrel bucks for Christmas.
Oh, really?
Between the
barrel
family
bucks?
members. Yeah. And they don't call them that. Like, dude, they totally missed out on that opportunity. But yeah, dude, we're going to go. We have enough money to go there like 15 times. Not really, but in theory.
Nice. That's awesome. Colin,
yes.
I assumed you played through this. This was in your era when you're still into Nintendo.
Yeah, it was. But it's funny. So there was I talk about it from time to time that there was like a year or so where like with rare exception, I actually didn't play video games when I was in college. Like it was like 2004 into 2005. And that was like, I made exceptions for like San Andreas and Resident Evil 4 and a select few others, but I wasn't really playing. And this game came out early 2005, as I recall. And I had missed it. I just wasn't playing it. And then Dagan and I, my brother, for people that don't know, we met up at my sister's for some reason. And I'm thinking it's because my first nephew was born or whatever in the fall of 2005. And he brought it for me to borrow. He's like, you got to play this version of the game. or this new Zelda game. And I'm like, all right. And that was when I was kind of getting back into things again. And I liked it. I don't really remember I remember a little bit about it, but I don't really remember very much about the story or anything like that. What I remember feeling is that it like I wasn't crazy about the Minish like miniature mechanic, going through little mouse holes and all that. That's one thing I remember. But it's also an interesting game just because it's Nintendo didn't make it.
Right.
And it's a Capcom game. And I remember
Capcom and Flagship.
Like, yeah, Flagship is like an internal Capcom team that was funded, I think, by other
Japanese video.
What'd you say?
It says, just according to Google, independent Japanese video game developer funded by Capcom. Yeah, Nintendo and Sega.
Yeah, because they made made a Dreamcast game early on. They made Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, which were Game Boy Color games. And I think they made a couple Kirby games too, and they were the team that made the Onimusha games, at least the first two, I want to say, something like that. So, but they were like some sort of internal, and then they ended up getting folded back into Capcom later. And like Nintendo and Sega, I think were like investors in it, but I think it was a majority Capcom thing. Anyway, it just has like that interesting mystique about it being external. It's funny that was happening for a while. Yeah. That Nintendo is trusting really truly external, not even second parties, but developers largely attached to publishers, like third-party publishers, to make stuff like that. What I think is pretty interesting. So from that perspective, I really think it's an interesting game. But I don't remember too much about it, to be honest. And so if I borrowed it that fall from Dagan, played it, that was 19 years ago, and that was the last time I ever even thought about it, really.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I haven't gone through it probably since then. Yeah, Flagship kind of reminds me of like Retro back in the day when they were doing Metroid Prime and all that kind of stuff. They pitched a couple Zelda things that never got made. So interesting time with Nintendo, kind of letting out those IPs now, because they still do that somewhat, but I guess they
do that with like Omega Force and with the Musos and stuff like that. But yeah, generally speaking, I think it's wise I think they realize they should do fewer high quality games. They don't need external developers to do that. They can do it themselves.
Yeah. I mean, they still do with Zelda, because Grezzo, they don't own Grezzo, and they've done 3D, Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D. They did Link's Awakening. They did...
they did the ports with them, the Link's Awakening remake.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Echoes of Wisdom they did. So...
Oh, yeah, that looks like Link's Awakening. So, yeah, they should get more out of that. It's a really cute aesthetic.
I don't see why not. Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting.
Question is, Micah, what's next on the Zelda docket then?
Yeah, so what I own, like physical copies of, I have Skyward Sword HD and I have Majora's Mask 3D. And then, of course, there's more to choose from on Nintendo Switch Online. So I'm not sure which Zelda I'm going to pivot to next. Like, I'm going to, take a break from Zelda. I do enjoy that these ones being about like 15 to 20 hours is perfect. And I'm really enjoying the lengths of these older Zelda games. So the next one I choose will probably be something else that's like in the shorter time frame. Yeah. But I might go Majora's Mask. I've been really enjoying using the 3DS as well. Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm having so much fun with that. So yeah, maybe that'll be what we pivot to next. I'm not making any promises, but I think that will be the next Zelda that we tackle.
Yeah, in the future. Whenever you get to the DS games, man, I hate Phantom Hourglass. That's like my least favorite Zelda ever.
I mean, I don't plan to get those because they're like $45 each.
All right, though.
Which one came out first? Was it Phantom Hourglass and then Spirit Tracks?
Yeah.
I told Micah that I was so excited about Phantom Hourglass that I literally didn't read or see anything about it, and I bought it. And then it was like
stylus.
Yeah, and you had to use the stylus. And I was like, fuck this game. I played it for literally 5 minutes, and I'm like, no, I'm not playing this. That was my experience with that game.
I'm not planning on playing those, because I'd have to buy them, and they're not too cheap. I mean, you can get a weird copy on Mercari for like $20 if you trust it. But they're not very cheap. And if they ever put them on Switch online, sure. But yeah, with the touch controls and all that, I'm not really feeling it.
They were on Wii U, but that store is also dead now. So
yeah, and I never
Nintendo.
bought them. This is where I'm a little trapped, like everyone else, because like Wind Waker, right now she's locked on Wii U. I don't own it digitally, physical copy, quite expensive. So I'm just waiting for them to bring it to Switch.
Yeah. Let's see here. This is from Justin 24 Hour. Hey all. I've always thought that the Minish Cap was a top tier Zelda, but it never gets the credit it deserves, like A Link to the Past or Link's Awakening. Minish Cap is so creative and innovative, but it lacks the retro nostalgia that boosts the favorites. Are there any other examples of sequels or later installments that don't get enough praise as their predecessors? Minish Cap underrated? I don't know.
I remember Minish Cap getting good scores, but
yeah, I don't know about it being underrated.
It might be.
And
it might be.
Minish Cap is retro, extremely retro now, and it has the Wind Waker aesthetic, and everyone loves that. So it definitely gets a boost from that. You're crazy, Justin.
It's older. This is crazy. It's older now from when it came out than it was from the original Zelda when it came out.
That is crazy. Damn, I just feel really old now because I remember that. Holy shit, dude. Hey, no Link to the Past slander, by the way. I won't allow that on this show.
I'll
okay?
allow it.
You're not going to ever allow.
No,
you're never going to see me
show.
slander A Link to the Past. That's great. That's an insane.
I know.
It's insane.
This is my show, Micah.
If
one of the most
we're
insane things.
Play
mentioning
that game.
if we're mentioning though other series that have later installments that didn't get enough love, Gears of War Judgment, excellent. Okay,
I don't remember anything from that game. I played.
It was so good.
Dick.
It was so fucking good.
Is it because you're Baird or whatever in it? And cool?
Yeah, but also
okay.
the online was excellent. It had this really sweet online mode called Overrun, where one team is the Locust, one team is the Cog, and it was awesome.
That is cool.
It was genuinely really well balanced. I remember being really stoked when Evolve came out. And Evolve was just horribly balanced, and playing as the monster sucked. Okay, it was bad. And Gears Judgment, Overrun was excellent. Playing as the Locust felt balanced. Playing as the Cog felt balanced. You really didn't know who was going to win. I think it was slightly easier to win as the Cog, only because you're just shooting things. It's what you're used to in Gears multiplayer. But once you got the hang of being the Locust and using your abilities, and it was awesome. It was fucking awesome. And yeah, the story's a little hokey. No one wanted a Damon Baird origin story except for me, because he's my favorite character. But it was a really great game that I don't see even the biggest Gears fans talking about. I replayed it like 2 summers ago with a friend online. And it was they'd never played it, and they're like, "This is shit." And I'm like, it kind of is, but it's also it's also a love letter to Baird fans. Okay, it's what we wanted. So that's my one to throw in, is that I think Gears Judgment doesn't get enough love because it was the gameplay was great. They added in here's the problem. There's continuity problems. They added in new enemies, but it's a prequel. And then those enemies are not in the subsequent games. So there's things like that don't make any sense. But besides that, it was a really fun game with really great online, some awesome new weapons. And yeah, it's one that I just wish people were, spoke of more fondly.
Fair enough. Okay, this is from Jeff. Question primarily for Micah. What was it that got you into Zelda recently? Of course, you've known about the series for ages, but I'm curious. What was the aspect that got you to sit down and play through one? Was it the gameplay, story, music? Definitely not that. Maybe just the general vibe of one of those games. It's always interesting to hear what the special thing is that wins someone over to a long-running franchise. Can you enlighten us?
Oh, Brad, you want to talk about music later? You're going to be incensed. I guess I have to say it now. I can't wait. I played 43 hours of Story of Seasons on the holiday break. And I didn't listen to a podcast for maybe more than 30 minutes. I listened to all 40 hours of stories.
Wow! Holy moly!
The thing is that soundtrack sucks. But I was just I was talking in the zone. I don't care. Man.
That's progress, though.
Oh no, it's not. I'm going back to my old ways ASAP. No,
but your Zoomer brain went away for a second.
I had to lock in to the cow
yeah,
sounds.
You just smelled the roses. Yeah, the cow sounds. Exactly. We need sound cues to keep you engaged.
Yeah. What got me into the Zeldas? It was Zelda Echoes because it was so fucking cute. It matters. All right. This game looked approachable. I am not a smart man. All right. And I looked at old Zelda games and I'd always be like, yeah, this looks cool. But, that's for people who aren't me. That's for, I'm the Tin Man. No, wait, I'm the Scarecrow. Which one doesn't have a brain? I fucking hate the Wizard of Oz.
The
Scarecrow doesn't have a brain.
Tin Man doesn't have a heart.
Is it racist to call myself a scarecrow? Is that some old black people thing I shouldn't be saying?
I don't know. You can be you can say whatever you want.
Isn't that like Tar Baby or something from Song of the South?
Oh my god! Now we're talking. Oh my god, dude! When I was a kid, I had this book called it was like Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby or something, and it was this whole Brer Rabbit and Friends, and I'm like, why do we have this? This is racist as shit. Not the point. Anyway,
dude, funny. My dad saw my VV plush, and he's like, "Is that Tar Baby?" And I was like, "No."
Is that a lawn jockey you got there, son?
It's like, no.
But yeah, Zelda Echoes looked approachable because it was a completely different take on solving the puzzles. Because you're conjuring up your items to solve things. It's very open-ended questions, basically, because you can use so many different combinations of items to solve the problems. That looked approachable enough that I said, I want to try this out. And then I loved it. I fucking loved it. And I was like, well, maybe I know they're not all going to be like this, but maybe there's another one that I'll like. So that's what got me started on trying these various Zeldas. And so far of the modern-ish ones, I've really enjoyed them all and for different reasons. But yeah, Zelda Echoes is what got me into it because I said, I think I can play that. And then realizing, okay, I can play most of these with some help here and there from guides. I can play most of these and have a lot of fun with it. I'm still not interested in like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom because I fucking don't want those breakable weapons. I just don't. Like I'm just like, that feels like trash. But yeah, otherwise I'm really approaching this with an open mind to try as many as I can.
Okay, cool. What if I told you in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, eventually you have so many weapons you don't even know what to do with them. You just throw them away.
Here's the other thing. Way too much exposition. All right, I watched Game Grumps play both of those games. Those cutscenes are ridiculous. I don't need all this in a Zelda game. What are you talking? I got to hear this sheep man talk for like 30 minutes to his wife. And, oh my God. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Whatever his name was, Raru. I'm like, fuck off, bro. Like, let's go to another shrine, okay? Like, it's way too much dialogue for a story that is once again, Ganon is evil. Link, we must stop him. Like, it's like, we don't need 30 minutes of cutscenes for that. I know. So it's just not my style, I don't think.
What, you didn't like the Ganon cutscenes in it, though?
No, those are great. Those are excellent. I mean, Matthew Mercer, excellent job.
Yeah.
That's, but it's just one of those things of like, dude, I don't need all this. It's Zelda. And shut the fuck up. 3 lines of dialogue per dungeon,
you're part
please.
of the problem. I'll give you like some of the
solution.
cutscenes are very stupid and not necessary. But
yeah,
Zelda needs a little bit of story. A little bit. It needs some.
Not that much. Not that much. It's too much. It's too much. And she's, I don't know, you got the fucking tablet now. And I'm like, this is dumb. This reminds me of the Wii U. I don't like that. They're like, let's put 1,000 Korok seeds in here. That'll show.
That's not mandatory. You're not supposed to get them all.
I don't like it. I don't like that they did it in the first place. I'm just, It's too much. It's too much. No, Breath of the Wild. And I did try to play it. I tried to play that when it came out. And I remember slipping. I remember it started raining and I started slipping down a hill. And I'm like, this is fucking bullshit.
Oh, that pissed me the fuck off too. I got to be honest. When I played that, I was like, this shit play yourself some Horizon Zero Dawn, little girl.
Oh, I love that game. I love the first one.
You don't
need to
worry about this Zelda.
Yeah, it's more so the second one that most people get annoyed at. Forbidden West, I would say. Just because Aloy is fucking annoying.
Yeah, I didn't finish Forbidden West. No, I loved Horizon Zero Dawn and I played the DLC for the first game. Forbidden West, I played maybe 10 hours of. before I got sick of Aloy.
Yeah, better
And
stash
I was like,
this. Oh, great!
I was just
Another
like,
item.
I don't give a fuck about saving your world. I don't like you.
Why is
You
everyone
can all
being so
die.
hard on Aloy?
Oh my god, what were we watching the other day? And the dude looked just like Aloy.
Oh yeah, you
The
said
sports though you had on.
yeah, it was funny. I was like, oh my god, it's
Rocky Dennis. That's what you said about it before, and I never can forget that now. You have ruined
No,
Aloy for me because I just think of that every time.
well, there was this wasn't even like I wasn't even being mean. There was a dude we were watching talking about football, and I look up at the screen. I'm like, holy shit, he looks like Aloy, and he did. He had red
Yeah, he
hair
did.
and like he like the same shaped eyes. Like he just fucking looked like Aloy. I'm like, that's.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not saying this to be mean. Like that just looks just like her, but real.
It's awesome. All right, guys. So over the break, I've been sick as well. I've only played like one game the entire time,
wow.
and that's Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. It's a fucking massive ass game.
Mm.
I looked at my, when you look at your like dashboard, Colin, or whatever, you see all your games, you highlight, it shows you how long you've played.
Yeah.
Over 100 hours in this game. I was just like,
it.
good Lord. And I didn't do a lot of the stuff in the game. There's like a whole mini game that's like Animal Crossing that I just didn't even bother with doing because I knew it was going to take 30 hours or 20 hours. It's like, I just can't do this right now. I'm just going to get through the game. But I finally finished the game after like a month of playing it. And it is very good. And I'm very happy I did finish it. I've talked about this before. I've had Yakuza Burnout for a long time just because they spit these games out like twice a year or
they
something
really
like
do,
that.
man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And they're all connected. It's like a giant soap opera. But I got to say, I think it's a really good game. It's been interesting coming from this series that was primarily a beat 'em up, or it was a beat 'em up for years and years. And once we got to 7, it turned turn-based. And this continues that. And I think it's just like they evolved it and just made everything a little more smooth, I would say, in combat. Like being able to actually like move a little bit and line up attacks is really good. And just the fact having Kiryu with you a lot. I have a problem with Yakuza is they just can't let Kiryu go. He's like the best character. I love Kiryu. I love him so much, but they just can't let him go when they have the opportunity to so many times. And it's like a catch-22 with me because I love having him. I love playing as him, but I'm just like, just let the man rest for God's sakes. Because Infinite or like a Dragon / Yakuza is the Marvel Cinematic Universe of video games. It just continues, and there's so like what's it called? The pirate game's coming out like next month.
Yeah.
It's just it won't stop.
Oh, dude,
but they're
and you
all
have the
very
Judgment
good.
spin-offs.
Yeah, exactly. And I've played all of those, and they're all very good. So it's like it's always a weird thing for me because I'm like annoyed that there's another one, but I always play them, and I'm always like, oh yeah, they're great though. So, but yeah, I'm back to this one. And what was cool about this one is that it was in Hawaii for a lot of it. It also takes place in Japan. You kind of hop back and forth between parties, almost like remind me of Final Fantasy VI a little bit, Colin. Not necessarily in a sense of like you get to that point and you pick who you want to play. Yeah. Just kind of hopping back between the groups. So, and of course, you're in Yokohama again, which you've been to in like 5 games already like that. So I'm like, I'm back. Yokohama again. I know where everything is once again. So that was and Kamurocho, of course, in this game. So there's all that kind of stuff. But I did like a lot of the stuff. So very early on, you learn this is not a spoiler. I'm not going to even count this as a spoiler, but Kiryu has cancer, and you find this very early on in the game. So a lot of part about the game is kind of Kiryu dealing with this cancer. And it's weird because there's so much going on from a narrative point in this game. There's like there's multiple plots going on. But I found myself more invested in Kiryu's, like him dealing with cancer, and because there's whole side quests that you can do about like memories of Kiryu. You go to certain places like in the game that were in the old games, and Kiryu will reminisce about that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool thing, especially if you're going to wrap up his story. And I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I really appreciated that aspect and just kind of getting these old tethers to Kiryu. Someone who's played through all the Yakuza games, it was kind of nice for me because I was like, oh yeah, I do remember doing all that kind of stuff. So I appreciated all that. But some like the main story, like dealing with the stuff on Hawaii and dealing with like, this weird like cult kind of thing, like I really didn't give a shit about any of that kind of stuff. I just really couldn't care about it. I was much more invested in just like the character thing going on with Kiryu, and like I like Ichiban. I think Ichiban's great. I think he's an awesome protagonist. And there's stuff going on with him, like him trying to find his mother. That's why he comes to Hawaii. But there's like later characters, and it's just like, man, I just don't give a shit about this. Like, luckily, there's enough going on in the game. I think this game is maybe too packed with stuff I could see. There's just, and maybe that's probably just like a subjective thing. Some people really like that stuff. I just feel like there's almost too much to this game. It's such a long ass game. There's so much going on. There's like mini dungeons you go to that are like deep dungeons that kind of, you go down different floors and they kind of I don't know if they randomize, but there's guys that you fight in there, and it's very like old school JRPG, and you rescue people in there. It's all okay. The classes I think are really fun that you can unlock your jobs, or what's cool about it is, you remember a game, you think Final Fantasy, I get the white mage or something like that, or you get the thief class. In this game, it's like, no, you get the Aquanaut. He's like a surfer with a wetsuit on, and he hits people with a surfboard and rides the surfboard in combat. So that's all funny. Or you get like the chef, and he has fire attacks, like, and he hits people with like a ladle or something goofy like that. You can get like a Desperado one, which I thought was really funny. You're like a cowboy, and you have like a revolver, and you're like shooting at everybody. That was really fun. So I always appreciate like these weird goofy classes they added in there. Like there's one of them is like a maid or something like that. So there's a bunch of cool stuff like that. And the combat, I'm kind of sick of this in like combat game or RPGs where you push a button for certain attacks to deal damage. I just think it gets really repetitive after like 80 hours. It's like, do I got to push X every time I do this ability now at this certain time to line it up? It's just like, I'm kind of sick of that thing, but I think you can just set it to do it by default. I think it works well for shorter games like Mario RPG and stuff like that, but
yeah,
longer games, I don't know. I just kind of got sick of that, all that going on there. But yeah, there's so much to do in this game. There's like a crazy taxi mini game. There's photos to take. Like I said, all that Animal Crossing stuff is like massive. There's so much to do in this game. Like if you're one of those people, it's like, I only have a certain amount of money to buy a game this year. Like this would have been prime for me in like junior high when I didn't have a lot of money. I would have gotten a ton of value out of this game. And there's a lot there. There's some good heart in the game also. There's some cool characters. I would definitely recommend not to hop into this game though first. You need to play Infinite Wealth. Oh, I'm sorry, Like a Dragon. What was it called? Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon, right?
Yeah, that is it. Yeah.
It's like Yakuza 7 only in Japan or something. I don't know. It's very confusing. But whatever. Like the first Like a Dragon, first Ichiban game, you absolutely have to play that one first. I highly recommend it. But it is a great game. I wish some of the story was a little more impactful for me, but there's some cool moments here and there. But I'm happy to be done with it. It's a great game though. But it's just a long ass game. I definitely was starting to feel it at the end. So I'm happy to be through it. But yeah, I'm happy to be caught up once again because whatever the Majima Pyre game's coming out, and that looks really fun. So guess I'll be playing that one now as well. So here we go. Let's see. Giovanni D. Amico wrote in, "Hey Brad, Happy New Year all the Goaty talk about Infinite Wealth this December really highlighted to me that the fact that I'm missing out as a JRPG fan by putting off these Ichiban games. It seems like everyone enjoys them. I've never played a Yakuza game, so I may start with Zero or with Like a Dragon. But my question is, should Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth be on my shortlist this year?" All right, so this is a tough question. I personally would start with Zero, just for all the context, because that does carry over into the later games. Will you need it to get through the game? Probably not. I know plenty of people that just started with Like a Dragon. Like I think Cog just started with 7, and he's played Infinite Wealth, and he loves that kind of stuff. But I think it's important to get all those connections. But that's up to you. But like I said, you need to play Like a Dragon before you play Infinite Wealth. Absolutely. You cannot. Don't hop into there. Just play Like a Dragon. Please do that. Let's see. This is from Tatman to the Rescue. Howdy, y'all. I'm writing in regarding Infinite Wealth. I'm curious to know how Brad felt about the main story and also Kiryu's own story. My first Yakuza game was Like a Dragon, and I absolutely loved it, especially the emotional ending. I was so intrigued by the tease of Kiryu that I had to know more about the guy. So in 2023, I beat every Yakuza game. I found myself disappointed in the stories in those games when compared to Like a Dragon, but I fell in love with Kiryu as a character. I had high hopes for Infinite Wealth, Infinite Wealth would give me the best of both. unfortunately, I felt Kiryo's nostalgia sub-stories are weak and the tying up of his stories was very unsatisfying. I also did not care about Ichiban's story or the new cast of characters by the time I was halfway finished with the game. Am I crazy? So it's weird for me because at this point in my life, I've already just been accepted with Kiryu that Kiryo's never going to go away. They're never going to get rid of him. They just can't help themselves. So I've softened with my expectations on the story. Like, I thought 6 would have been the perfect leaving point for Kiryu, but they just keep going with it. So that really hasn't bothered me. I like some of the new characters. I could see why some people wouldn't, because there is a lot of characters in this game. There's like, I think you have 10 party members total. So there's a lot of people to juggle and stuff like that. So it can be hard. And some of the stories I feel, I don't want to get into spoilers, but some of the things just kind of wrapped up in not a satisfying way, because some Yakuza games do. So I definitely understand the frustration with that. But from a gameplay perspective, I think this game is much more superior to Like a Dragon. Big time.
I gotta address the insanity of playing through 7 games, being disappointed in each one and continuing to just keep playing them all. Like, you beat every Yakuza game from 0 and then 1 to 6, and each one was disappointing. It's like, maybe stop after 2 of them, maybe stop after 3 of them. I mean, at what point did you think, no, I'll like this eventually? It's like it's one of my favorite like tweets about going to Golden Corral. And they're like, if this is bad 5 more times, we'll stop coming here. You won't. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep I just like, dude, why'd you do that to yourself? I just can't believe you'd play through 7 games each time being like a little disappointed.
I kind of get it though, because he liked the conclusion of the run, and he wanted to tie the 2 links together. You know, and it's like it is a sunk cost at some point. You know,
yeah, they're very different, and I think I don't know. The other games' stories aren't going to be as impactful as their first time going through a Yakuza story, because everything is so new to you. You don't understand the tone and what the game goes for, like very serious and very comedic, and how well it does it. I just think you're not going to have that impact in the other games. I mean, some of the other games, like, I don't care about the story as much as like some other people do, but like he said, though, it's because of Kiryu, because Kiryu is such a awesome character. You can't help but love the guy. So I totally understand, but you are a psychopath for playing through all those games in 1 year. All right. This is from Hugh J-Load.
No, huge.
Yes. Yes.
Huge load.
Huge load. That's a huge load. Brad, do you see yourself continuing on with the Yakuza series, or has the burnout set in harder now? While I love the series, I do fear they will milk it too hard with too many releases upcoming. Sega understandably wants to fire on all cylinders, but there's too much of a good thing. Thanks. I've been saying this for like 4 years, dude. Welcome to the party. The train ain't stopping, man. I'm sorry. These games do way too well, and people like them way too much. We had like 3 within almost a year, so it's not stopping. No, by means and no whatsoever. I'm caught up, thankfully, so it's not like I have to go through 8 games in a year like Tatman did, like a psychopath. But I do feel the fatigue, but I don't know, man. Something about these games. I complain, but when I play them, I have a good time. I don't know what it is. It's a weird relationship with me in these games. But they're awesome. All right, guys. Let's do Sort It Out right now. On this segment, guys, we just talk about something that's bothering us in the game industry. Could be a company, a game, person at a game company, perhaps, if you want to get real personal. But anything that's just bothering you in the game industry. Colin, I want to start with you. Anything that needs sorting from you?
I have something that needs sorting out. If you guys go into the Discord, I have a picture I want to share with you.
Okay. Dustman. Oh, what the fuck is this? This seems not video game related whatsoever, but I'll allow.
My sorted out is to my wife, Micah. This is the garbage. This is the garbage pail from our bathroom. Okay, Micah, and this is a shower poof. So I have some props.
Oh wow, this is what you
Carrot
were
top.
stumbling around the house for before we recorded.
So this is a shower proof that's like all used up after a few months, or for like a while. And this is the way they look like when they're new, right? So when they're all fucked up, and then you throw them away. But Micah thought, as you see in this picture, that she would just drop the entire thing into the garbage can, taking the entire garbage can up. And she did this on the day that the garbage was changed, and she thought it was so funny. She thought it was so funny. And so I just wanted to say, Micah, sort it out. That's got to go into the garbage at the very least in the kitchen. But I say you even walk that thing out into the garage and drop it into the garbage, because it takes up such an egregious amount of room. Look at the picture. I have more pictures.
All you do, Colin only uses the bathroom trash to throw away floss. There's plenty of space for your 5 days worth of floss in there. Okay.
Just in case it's not reading, this is a top-down image, and you can see we just changed the garbage. And there's no room left.
I can't control what day the shower poof needs to be discarded. All right.
Well,
I have no control over that.
Look at the size of this thing.
You got floss in there?
Colin only throws away floss and the errant Q-tip. He refuses to use the upstairs bathroom trash.
Look at this.
But also I want the record to show that was the last ever shower poof, because I have ever since switched over to exfoliating washcloths.
This is the last shower poof we have, the new one, because I'm going to use a new one now. I've been waiting for this moment.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to hide your old one. I'm going to throw it away tomorrow.
So I just wanted to say, Micah, sort it out, please.
I love this psychotic behavior of taking multiple photos of this trash can too. Like in a crime scene investigation.
Oh my God. No, Brad wasn't here. Okay, Brad, when Colin first had this house, he only had one trash can in the entire house, which was in the kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everything has to be funneled into that one trash can.
I know, the one trash can solution, I know. And Colin would literally bring his he'd floss and then bring it all the way downstairs to throw it out, use a Q-tip, bring it all the way downstairs to throw it out. And I was like, all right, you're going to have a woman in your house. You just can't do this. Okay. Right. Without being graphic, I got things to throw away that I don't want to walk down to the kitchen, sir. And he was like, fair enough. So we got one trash can in the upstairs. I did bring a second trash can into the house, which is now in the other bathroom, because the guests also need a trash can in their bathroom. When people stay here, they should be able to throw things out discreetly. But yeah, Colin still really tries to not use that trash can. And he'll still he'll leave his retainer bright tablet wraps on the countertop and bring them downstairs to throw them away. It's madness.
I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. I throw away the retainer because and I throw away the floss every night. But other than that,
you do throw away the floss
and a Q-tip. Yeah, but I'm not that garbage can't there's so much in that garbage can sometimes at the end because we empty it every Monday night where I'm like, I didn't know we had this much stuff in the house.
Well, one thing though, literally, I got a tattoo. You're cleaning it 3 times a day. And Colin's like, why are there so many paper towels in here? I'm like, because I've been washing my tattoo 3 times a day for a week. And, it's like, yes, things happen. The garbage fluctuates based on what's happening in our life. And then I got another tattoo 2 weeks afterwards.
Can we all agree, though? Look at the pictures. Make sure they're edited in. Make sure, Dustin knows. So
all right,
people
let me put a note.
Can we all agree that this is insanity, though? We can't live in a society.
There's plenty of room. Oh. We made it through the week just fine.
But it was like a mound. Right. It was like when a volcano erupts and then it collapses, the caldera collapses, and it's like a mound above where the plane should be. And to me, I'm just it wasn't that you just did it; it's that you knew, right? And you made fun of it immediately and brought you were doing your little laugh that you do when you set up a bomb somewhere.
Because I didn't intentionally set it that I would do that after trash day, but literally I went into the bathroom, I'm about to take a shower, and I was like, this thing is falling apart. Time to replace it. And I had gotten my new exfoliating washcloths off Amazon. So I was like, well, today's the day. I'm not going to wait a week for garbage day. That'd be lunacy. So I just threw it out.
All right. Couples therapy on Sorted Out. I love it. Micah, do you have any built up frustration you want to get out as well? Or do you want to
Not
stick
for
to
Colin.
video games? Okay.
No, so this is Sorted Out to Nintendo. Having played 3DS so much recently, got me to go and open the activity log. And, because I'm tracking how long it takes me to play, these 3DS games that I've been working on. I just can't believe how well done activity log is for us to get nothing like that on Switch. Activity log, you get an exact play time. You get a count of how many times you open the game. You get an average play time per session. You get the date you first played and last played it. And it even gives you these little award icons so that the game that you played the most will have a little gold crown next to the play time. The game you had the longest average session time will have a little crown. It gives you like first, second, and third place for those categories. It gives you so much. Then you go on Switch, and now granted, yes, a lot of the games track internally how long you played them, but not all. And on Switch, you go to your profile and it says played 5 hours or more, played 25 hours or more.
Yeah, it's weak.
And it just goes like incrementally like that. And for the games that it doesn't track internally, you get this approximate play time. And, I will say the outlier to that is Nintendo Switch Online does give you like down to the minute how long you've played. But like I said, it'll literally say 697 minutes. And then you got to go figure out the hours and minutes instead of just breaking that down. Like who the fuck does that? It's like the weirdos who are like, my kid's 520 months old. And it's like, I'm not doing the math, Steven. He looks big, I guess. I don't know. But
let's see.
So Sorted Out Nintendo, because the activity log was excellent. And you got to bring that back.
Steven will be 43.
That would be absurd to say. Imagine your mom walking around and saying, yeah, Dagon's X amount of months old. Dude, this is what I'm talking about, Nintendo. Don't give me 697 minutes.
Dude, by the way, I totally forgot to tell you this, Micah, that my mom messaged me. Because my mom always calls Dagon Colin and Colin Dagon like forever. But she messaged me. She knew she was messaging me, but she called me Dagon via text. So I just wanted to let you know.
Man, that's
awesome. It's a new level when it's happening over text.
Yeah.
It's a whole new level of dementia settling in.
Yeah. Well, my parents would mix up our names sometimes too. I don't know. Because we're brothers. I mean, your guys' age gap is way bigger.
Oh,
than
no.
ours.
I mean, that's not a big deal at all. I just think it's funny.
It's funny that it happened over text.
Yeah. And I texted Dagon. I was like, dude, this is awesome. Crazy.
Because in person, your mom will go through all four kids. She'll go through all four names to get to Colin. And I remember my Nana doing that as well. Like with my mom, she'd start with just like the oldest kid until she eventually got to my mom. It's like, there you are.
Yeah, I get it. Let's see. Mine is kind of related to this one from Morgan here. Nintendo sorted out. We have seen the entire motherboard for the Switch 2. We have seen the Joy-Cons and the 3D printed versions of the retail unit. Just please, God, say something. I'm slowly losing my mind here. I see Yoshi in my dreams at night. He taunts me with his tail and tongue action of his. Ugh. How much longer do we realistically have to wait? Are we going to see this thing just appear in stores one day? Anyway, keep up the good work. Summon Ussies. Cheers. Yeah, it's like the leaks. It's like we're finding out like everything about this thing, like Joy-Cons, motherboard. It's all out there. Nintendo, please, you gotta say something. Please. I mean, they don't technically have to say anything, but for us, especially for me and Micah on Punching Up, give us content. We need it. Please, Nintendo, say something. Sort that shit out. Get that console out there. I've been sick of the Switch for like 45 years already. Come on, man. Let's go. Let's get this thing coming.
I don't know what they're thinking. Right. I don't know what they're thinking. Just because I remember saying months ago, it's like these things are manufactured sitting somewhere. Like I don't know what they think is going to happen. Like they're eventually going to walk off the manufacturing lines and into various places as electronics do and now clearly are. So it's got to be weeks away at the most,
Yeah.
before
My
literally a
only thing is-
boxed unit is going to appear in the next 2 weeks somewhere.
I know.
Like,
it's
so
getting-
they got to like,
Yeah, they got to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, there was rumors that it's going to be like summer or something like that. I hope it's not that long, but I wonder if it's just maybe software's not ready or it's taking longer than anticipated, something like that. So I don't know.
there's got to be a reason.
That is a weirdest company.
I honestly feel like the reason is Switch is still selling millions of units. Like,
It still does.
why
yeah.
bother? Like, to me, I'd be like, like what's I think it's VG charts, so it's made up numbers, but they'll eventually correct them. But their prediction was 2.1 million for November, which is like insane, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So I do think it could be the games that are just not ready. They want to have everything lined up and just so. But I honestly think a lot of it has to do with the kind of the longevity of the Switch itself. It's just what's the rush?
Yeah. Okay, this is from Ricardo C. Greetings, BMC. I'm issuing a sorted out regarding EA recently. Colin mentioned where are the shooters, and it got me thinking about Medal of Honor specifically. I believe a single player narrative driven experience could do well. Do you think this could be feasible, or is the franchise likely to remain dormant in light of the industry's focus on live service models and soft sales of single player only shooters? VR/R, Ricardo C. Well, they brought back Medal of Honor. I don't remember how many years ago that was, Colin.
It was the PS3
but you remember
era.
the reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no one gave a shit about it.
Yeah. And they made a sequel, I think, too. And then there was a Medal of Honor VR
no one
game.
cares.
I love the original Medal of Honor is actually like a seminal game for me. I love that game.
Yeah.
The PS1 Medal of Honor. It was like really good. So I'm sympathetic to that, but no. EA is actually one of the publishers that would make smaller games. They or make single player centric games. I mean, a single player centric first person shooter is Immortals of Avium, which EA funded.
Right.
But I think in the realm of like military shooters, like the AAA space, where they want to aim their own internal kind of resources, you want to focus on one franchise, and that franchise is Battlefield. So I don't think that Medal of Honor could exist if they want to acknowledge Medal of Honor as a secondary or tertiary style franchise that gets single player campaigns that cost tens of millions of dollars to make, and they can release them every few years or whatever and make some money on it. I'd be totally down for that. But I just don't think that EA that's not what they do, with their own IP. And I also Medal of Honor was really unique. I mean, Medal of Honor is like a Spielberg product. It's a legitimate attempt to do something that wasn't really being done. People have to remember when that game came out, there was no Call of Duty, and shooters were generally supernatural or futuristic. And they tried to like tell a real World War II story. And it's like, that's like the last thing we need now, man. It's like, even I'm tired of World War II, which is crazy because I fucking love World War II. But even I'm like, enough already. Jesus Christ. We get it. So I think from that perspective too, and that's why when they redid Medal of Honor, it was like more of like a modern, almost like Black Ops-esque game. And I beat it. I remember it was like unremarkable. That was an era of like just unremarkable and sometimes just bad first person shooters. But I kind of miss it now. Like we do need more. I brought up Singularity before. Just games like that. That's why Immortals of Avium I thought was so refreshing. But yeah, Medal of Honor, I don't know. I don't think there's much for that franchise to give us anymore. And I think EA wants one first person shooter military franchise to sing.
Yeah. All right, this is from Diego. Hello, Summonites. I would like to issue a hearty sorted out to Micah. Wow, Micah, that's 2 in one episode. In the latest episode of Punching Up, she both states that she loves huge blank maps you have to fill out by exploring, a la Assassin's Creed, but also chides at Metroidvania's spaghetti maps. Micah, please put on your big girl gamer pants and indulge in some of the best gaming has to offer in Metroidvanias. May your new year be filled with flat soda and your socks stay moist.
That's so kind.
You know what it is, though? It's okay. And this is going to sound, it's outdoors versus indoors. I like
here
a
we go.
big
A new
outdoor
layer.
map. I don't, but it is, right? Like, I'm not talking about, oh, I want this like cascading, dungeon, and it's like it's like room after room. I'm talking about, I love filling in a big outdoor map, like Echoes of Wisdom, yeah, like Assassin's Creed, and you go around and you unlock all your places, okay? Versus like, it's the look of the Castlevania maps, the look. I just don't know if I can do it. So Zelda dungeon maps also horrible, and I just don't use them. All right, you can't make any fucking sense of it. You can't make sense of it. It's like the Microsoft, the screensaver with the pipes and the doo-doo. It's like looking at that, and I'm like, I'm supposed to figure out how to get to the boss from here. I'm just gonna fucking walk around till I find it. Okay, like it's just useless. It's useless. So I'm sorry. I don't know if I can ever get. First, I don't think Metroidvanias gameplay wise are for me, anyways. They look really difficult. A lot of platforming, and I hate that. So there's that. And then there's the map, Yeah. And then you got all these effeminate vampire men, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that either. So there's just too much. Too much, simply.
Effeminate vampire men?
Have you seen them? Yeah.
Well, you should play there's a Metrovania where you play as Scrooge from Christmas Carol. He's an old man. Maybe you'll like that.
I've never seen A Christmas Carol. I don't know it.
Well, he's an old man. That's all you need to know.
I guess. But I don't know if that's enough to keep my interest, for how long? How long? You get to see him the whole time?
Yeah, you play as him.
You bend over?
Maybe.
Is there a bending over mechanic?
Probably. You can slide around, I'm sure. All that kind of stuff. He's probably pretty agile for an old man.
I don't know. There's something there. That's got wheels on it. Yeah, that's got wheels on it.
All right, we're back with Keep It Up Now. The exact opposite of sorted out. Stuff we're pleased with in the game industry. Colin, let's start with you again. Anything you're pleased with right now?
I'm looking for... Oh, I should have taken a new screenshot. I was looking for a screenshot of PlayStation Stars for a purpose that I was going to use for this, which was shout out to... and I saw this is the only story that I saw circulating this holiday season that I thought was actually truly interesting, which was... players are playing more and more old games, and Steam. This is according to IGN. It says Steam Replay is saying that just 15% of playtime of all Steam users cumulatively this year were games released in 2024, and that amongst those games, the games like Pal World, Black Myth, Helldivers 2, and then later Path of Exiles and maybe Marvel Rivals at the end were games that even spiked that number. This is, of course, horrible for the industry as far as new games is concerned, and I get that, and we're experiencing that. Like Twin Breaker is not selling well, or Tribreaker, and we look at that and we're like, released it at a weird time, a lot of games coming out, just constant fucking fodder coming out, but people are just playing fewer newer games, I think, and this makes some sense. Like, I wonder where this ends, because you imagine game sales, and this is what I was trying to pull up. Though I purchased something like 42 or 43 new games last year, according to PlayStation Stars, and earned a shit ton of points. It's also true that at the end of the year, and Mike and I were just going through the store, and there was like a shit ton of games on sale, and I didn't want anything, but then I started seeing shit where I was like, I started scrolling. It's like Mass Effect, PS4 trilogy, like the port, $5. I was like, okay. And I was like, I bought it. And then I kept scrolling, and it's like all the Turok games from N64, $11. I'm like, okay. I mean, and who can resist that? And it went on and on. That's how we even got the Doom DLC and a couple of other things, all for probably $50 cumulatively. And I was looking at that and thinking about it in reflection of this number. And I was like, geez, a normal person, not me, but like a normal person that plays games as a hobby, has a world around them, a real world, not interacting constantly. I just bought probably a year's worth of games for that person for $50. None of those games came out this year, right? Like, and some of them nowhere close. Mass Effect 2007. And this, I feel like, is just going to snowball more and more. It kind of is the other side of the coin of what I criticize, and I've done it myself on PSN, especially as it's gotten easier, although I've really stopped trying to do it this being a recent example of me going the other direction, but buying games on sale. It's like, oh, Steam sale, everything's cheap, just buy it. But in some sense, if you're disciplined and you play that shit, like you actually play it and aren't just buying it because it's so cheap, you can play games for virtually nothing. And I don't blame people for leveraging that in any sense. And this number just reveals that this apparently is up year over year and is becoming an increasing problem, I think, for the games industry. But it's one that I kind of embrace because I think it will shake things back to a place of normalcy in terms of release cadence and what you're willing to risk financially to get games on the market. I feel like it's just too easy and too cheap and too quick. But yeah, so I wanted to say, keep it up to all the players out there that are pinching pennies, all the players out there that are playing through their backlogs, that are discovering old games. I think it's fucking awesome,
Yeah.
But I do lament what it means for the industry. Yet that's none of our problem, really. It's up to the powers that be to convince us. And that's why I was looking up the number on PS Stars. It was like they convinced me 40 something times to buy a new game. And all the most of those games were from this, that year. So it's like I'm definitely contributing, but I'm way above the per capita person. So this is a problem worth noting, but I think it's great for back catalogs and old games and playing on wouldn't it be interesting? This probably exists, but like a YouTube channel or something where it's like, I'm going to start out the year with $100 or something like that. And just see if I can consistently be playing an X amount of hours a day or X amount of hours a year without spending more than that amount of money on a la carte purchases based only on sales. Be kind of an interesting exercise, but you could do it. So,
oh yeah. Yeah, especially like with Steam sales and stuff. Like you're saying, you got like Mass Effect Trilogy for $5. It's crazy.
Dude, gaming is so cheap. People have to understand that even back in the day this is the beauty of digital games. It's like you weren't getting dick for $5. No. You were paying $30 for a year-old NHL game on SNES. Like you weren't getting anything for this cheap. So it's kind of awesome that you have access to this litany of things.
Yeah.
But so it's a two-sided coin, but as all coins are, but I got to give a shout out to keep it up to the pressure that's being applied, because I think it will ultimately bring the corrections that I think people are looking for, which is better quality games. And fewer releases that really capture your attention. I think that's important.
Yeah. Micah, what about you? Anything this week? Keep it up.
First of all, I have to give a shout out to Rachel Ray's seminal program, $40 a day, in which she would go to various tourist cities and have to eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for $40. I loved that show.
I remember
just
that.
Reminded me of it. Right, it was amazing because she'd be like, "Today we're touring San Diego, and we're gonna see if we can eat for $40 a day." And then she'd be like, "I had this," and they'd tally it all up at the end. Sometimes she'd go over. Sometimes she'd have a little extra money. The thing is that they would let her go over, and that was the key. Was she would not sacrifice quality simply to save money. If she was going to go $2 over, she'd say, "This breakfast was worth it. It put me over budget, but it was worth it." And I appreciated that. I love Rachel Ray. I'm a huge fucking fan. Mike,
dude, I'm sorry. I haven't thought of that show. Like that's like such a deep memory for me.
I think about it a lot.
You couldn't do dick for $40 a day. You couldn't even find a meal in San Diego for $40 at this point. But
no. I mean, Christ, you'd be doing a fast food tour to even try. And even then, it's like, okay, right. IHOP breakfast, $6 weekday specials. We can swing that. We go to Cracker Barrel for lunch. Probably get yourself a $10 or $11 lunch. All right, but she went to like mom and pop restaurants. Now it'd be like a fast food buffet.
Yeah. That IHOP commercial's on the brain, isn't it? Because I'm telling you, like, if Mike and I saw an IHOP commercial recently, I haven't been to IHOP in like I don't even know when, but I was like, if it actually looked like that, like if what that looks like is what you actually got, I would eat at IHOP all the time.
Yeah. Instead, we're going to Cracker Barrel, where the floor is visibly dirty, but the food, all the food.
Dude, I don't know. Delicious. Like, they got to get. I'll go to that Cracker Barrel and volunteer and be like, listen, I'm not going to clean this place myself, but give me a little bit of money, and I'm going to hire a crew to get this place, spick and span, because it's not it's not doing it for me. You know, why is the bear head full of dust? Like, why doesn't anyone care? You know, that
because old people can't see. The old people that eat there, they can't fucking see.
The cast of characters at Cracker Barrel is something else. I mean, we're part of it.
Oh my God.
I'm part of the menagerie of characters, but
we're usually the youngest people in there. One time there was this lady and like she was wearing this skirt, like this sequined skirt, but every time she like shifted in her seat, it would like shuffle up just a little bit. And by the end, it was like, I got a glimpse of like her underwears. And I was like, whoa. Like,
whoa.
Grandma's over here giving me the business. And
she's giving you the upskirt.
I'm not having it. Yeah. I'm just trying to eat my, ham dinner. And she's over here.
She's trying to give you her own sort of ham dinner.
Yeah. Take me to Arby's.
Gross.
Oh.
All right. The keep it up.
Yeah.
So for Christmas, Colin surprised me with a Switch Lite. I love it. So Nintendo, again, my keep it up to them is they do exceptionally well with these light versions of the consoles. I don't personally own one, but I have heard really great things about the 2DS, for example. My 3DS just still works great, and I never needed to replace it. But I've heard the 2DS is a sturdy little workhorse, and I'm just loving this Switch Lite. I was excited to try it out, but genuinely, this has reinvigorated my love for the Switch. That says a lot, because I play handheld on Switch a lot. I'm like a Switch handheld power user. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to say that this is even better, I love the weight of it. Literally, it is much lighter. I love that the Joy-Cons don't detach, because you'll only know this if you play in handheld mode frequently, but the Joy-Cons can shift out of place while you're playing, sometimes to the point that you are losing your input and you're like, why isn't this working? And you got to pop it back in place. Not so on the Switch Lite, 'cause it's all one sturdy unit. It's just really a great little device, and I just love it. Like, I wasn't expecting myself to like it so much. I'm kicking myself for not getting one sooner. But, Nintendo offering what is essentially a stripped down version of the console. It doesn't plug into your TV. The Joy-Cons don't detach, but it's so good. And for someone who's handheld centric like I am, this is a fucking great device. And I love it. I really do love it. And I can't believe how good it is. And yeah, man, all I can say is like, I'm fucking shocked at how awesome the Switch Lite is. My sister got one last year and she was telling me all about it because her kids, they constantly have the Switch. She never gets a turn. So she bought herself a Switch Lite. I was like, hell yeah, dog. I got to get her Oregon Trail. I think she'd love it. Anyways, but yeah, it's fantastic. If you're a handheld, like almost exclusive person like I am, Switch Lite is the way to go. The only caveat, I was like, oh, this will be excellent for travel because it is smaller. However, you really can't get travel cases that are the size of the Switch Lite. The travel cases that are currently on the market are for both. It fits the regular Switch and the Switch Lite. My OG Switch case, you cannot put the Switch Lite next. The cutouts on the inside don't allow it to sit correctly. So you can't like shut it all the way. So I bought a new case and I was like, oh, well, it'd be great. I can get a smaller case. Now it'll actually be like a purse-sized console. Not so. This case is the size of the original Switch, but otherwise, I'm just fucking loving it. And
nice.
Yeah, the buttons feel great. It's an excellent little handheld, and they've done it again, creating a light version of a console. And man, it's got me playing more than ever.
Yeah. Look at that, Colin. You got her. She's so stoked you got her that Switch Lite.
Yeah, you helped me pick out the appropriate one, which I appreciate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just like I said, like we collaborate. She and I, she designed like a piece of jewelry that I got her, and I know I wanted to have her. She already knew about it. We could put it under the tree, and then it's like, oh, but it was like more fun to have something to open as well. Yeah. So I got her that, and then I got her like some calendars, and that was yeah.
I was completely surprised. I was not expecting you to get me the Switch Lite at all. But the funny thing happened afterwards, Brad, because Colin, it was a couple days later, Colin goes, did I get you the right one? And I said, yeah, I wanted the yellow one. He's like, but there's this OLED model with a better screen. You didn't want that? And I was like, no, no, I wanted this one. But it was just funny that for a split second, you're like, did I get you the wrong one? And you're like, feigning excitement.
I thought I was like, oh shit. Cause but I didn't realize that color, I don't think was even an option. So I couldn't have made that mistake. No. So that's good.
And your wife can't see OLED, so it's fine.
Yeah, trust me, Colin. I've had this conversation with her. I'm like, what? You don't want the OLED? And she's like, no. I want the light. I want the block of cheese switch light. It's like, okay.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy, you know? Like it's totally whatever makes you happy is fine with me. Yeah.
It's so good. Also, we just don't need another dock. Switch 2 is coming. I swear to God. Yeah. So like, what am I going to have 3 docks in here? Then I got to do something about it. The last thing I want to do is have to do something. All right. Yeah. I still have my Xbox One S that I keep saying I'm going to throw out or donate or do something with, and it just sits in its box because I don't want to do anything with it.
1S, man. Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
garbage.
Literal garbage. I couldn't give the thing away. I don't think.
Paperweight, dude.
GameStop will be like, we'll give you $250 for it. Okay.
Yeah. Might as well just get rid of it at that point. Definitely. But yeah,
time.
Micah, make sure to have that with you tomorrow when we shoot Punching Up. You got to show it off to everybody.
Oh, okay. Yes, I will try to remember.
And show off your old Switch if you have it with the huge crack on it or whatever. We got to see that in action.
There's no crack, but it is very scratched.
The scratched. We got to see the scratch.
Treble ran across the screen numerous times. The new Switch, I put it on the coffee table every time I set it down. She never gets set on the couch. Because once it happened once with the Switch and she scratched it, I was like, well, can't get any worse. So I was thinking, she has like run over it to get a toy, and it's just it's scratched as shit.
Yeah.
Oh, Mamma Mia, the loose Joy-Cons.
Yeah,
she's had a time. She's 7 years old.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
We should bury her in the backyard.
We're not gonna bury it.
Oh,
those Joy-Cons are like $80.
All right. My keep it up is for. You reminded me of this, Colin. I'm just going to give it to Valve. I think they are by far the best like service thing. As someone who uses pretty much all the consoles,
there's no doubt about that, dude.
Yeah, right. Steam is just so far ahead, and I love still that they are a private company somehow still, so they don't have to bend wills to shareholders or anything like that. They do whatever they want, and they're so good. They're so flexible. Like just the fact that you can get refunds for after 2 hours for like any reason is so unheard of for most things. Like I've done it a couple times. Like Dustin wants to play some shitty horror game, so he try it and it sucks. And everyone's like, well, let's just refund it. And it's like, wow, we can actually do that. It's crazy that we're allowed to do that kind of stuff, in my opinion. And I don't take it for granted. But yeah, Steam is just like the premier platform. Everything on there is so good. The only thing I think trophies are the best, the best achievement system by far. I wish Steam had something like that because no one can compare with that. Other than that, though, Steam, you're the best, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep up the sales. Keep up everything. You guys.
Yeah, they're great, man. I mean, no one really even knows how much they make or like what. Like,
yeah.
I read about it because I Google about it once in a while when we're researching for other things. But it's like there are hypotheses that range in like and how much gross revenue they make, and people try to glean as much information they can from Steam DB and stuff like that, and but it's many billions of dollars in sales a year in some way. And I say this over and over again, but in some way, like PC gaming is vastly overstated because there are literally billions of potential machines out there that could run Steam, and so that it has such a small user base is interesting in and of itself because it hasn't attracted that many people when you think about it, as opposed to having to go and buy a console and intentionally do that. And then you have PlayStation selling more games on that very limited console than Steam does on all of these platforms. And so I think that that's a meaningful number that people often ignore, but there's no doubt that they set the trend for a service, like a game selling service. And I think their level of like market libertarianism has hurt the industry in some sense by like putting too many games out there, but they've done it the most perfect way. If you're not going to have any sort of barrier, then they've done it the best way that they could do it by giving you, like you said, the automatic refund, like no questions asked refunds. And I think the review structure of like
Yeah.
people reviewing games locked into their name and how much they played it, and then you can order that in all sorts of different ways and learn whatever you want about these games. And so if you're going to have this like unmitigated market of games, then you give people all the tools necessary to be able to sift through this insane amount. 17,000 I think last year games were published to Steam. One thing I got to say, as a person who owns a game studio and we develop games, obviously, is Steam is also awesome for developers. Like, it takes no more than us just uploading builds of games and deploying new links to each other to like have new builds of the games we're making. It's literally that easy. It used to have to send exe file, exe packages, and I'd get out a debug unit. Now I just play all the games on computer with a PS4 controller, and we share them through Steam. So as a tool, it's awesome. It's never been easier.
I don't know if you've seen those memes. It's just like all these other companies making storefronts, and it's just like Gabe does nothing, wins. Everyone crumbles to Steam every single time. It's so funny. I think it's something like 500 employees or something like that too. It's like, and we did the math on the show where it's like, you could conceivably see with benefit and bonus packages that each person would make 7 figures, and that wouldn't affect anything for the company, like literally nothing. Yeah. So like they attract, whatever their compensation package would be, and I have no idea, but they could attract a level of talent that would be insane too, because it seems like Gabe understands that, what am I going to do with all of your money that you're going to give me for buying this company that I wouldn't just get from doing what we're doing anyway? Like what is the difference between the billions of dollars I have and the hundreds of billions you will give me? And that's a pretty dope stance to take, in my opinion. Because make no mistake about it, if Steam was on the market and like available, that company would be worth an insane amount of money. And especially because they'd have to open their books and we would have an understanding of what was happening with them. So anyway, I'm going on and on, but I'm super impressed with it. I just love the whole system, dude, because I'm just so familiar with Steam much more than I am at playing games with it, because I always end up there to look at community boards, forums, game help. Like, the way they organize everything is awesome. A lot of the seminal strategy guides for games are on the Steam guide pages. So it's just an amazing setup. There was someone like some of their salaries got leaked years ago, and I'm just looking at this from a Reddit thread, but it says this is from like 2021, I guess. 336 people, administration, 35 people, making an average of 4.5 million a year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you keep, they have a fucking thing going there, like the 300 and whatever of them. Look at each other in the face and be like, yo, do you understand how much money we all make? And like, we can just keep the circle tight, do the best work we can do, and we can maximize all of our value. Pretty sick. You know?
Hardware developer, 41 people, making an average of 430K a year. It's like crazy. It's awesome. It's so cool.
It's fucking sick.
Yeah.
And you can't, Steam is like an exceptional product. That I'm surprised and I've said this before, because I love Patreon and we use Patreon obviously, but it's like, and I've been with them since 2011 or whatever. And I've had all these conversations with them. But one thing I relay to them from regularly is like, I don't understand how this isn't way better. Like, it works. Right. It's great. It helps us function. We're totally dependent on it. But as an app, like, instead of giving people RSS feeds and all these kinds of things, I just think that this would be like, all this stuff would have been fixed years ago. Yeah. And then you use an app like Twitter or or Reddit or something, and it's like, this just works because like it has to, like, and that's what you pay. You pay for that high end engineering, that high end skill. What do they call it? 10x? Isn't that the term in engineering?
Yeah, something like that.
Where it's like, Micah, do you know that term? Where it's like, it's something like you have an engineer that like you have a team of engineers, but really one of them is like the 10x engineer or whatever. That I always understood was like the person who was like just did a shit ton of work, and like you lock those kinds of people down. Yeah, it seems like Steam. Talking out of my ass a little bit there though, because I'm not an engineer myself, obviously.
But yeah, good shit. Love you, Steam and Gabe. You're the best. All right, let's see. This is from Dong Schnutz Likes Big Butts. I got to keep it up for Sega.
Jesus.
In 2024, they had Infinite Wealth, Metaphor, and Persona 3 Reload, along with even Sonic X Shadow Generations, Sonic Shadow Generations, a 9 out of 10 from IGN. Sega is also not leaving IP dead like other companies. The revival Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi, Shinobi, Jet Set, and now even Virtua Fighter. Huge keep it up. Sega is having a massive renaissance. Yeah, Sega's seems to be doing good work. I'm very worried about not worried, but concerned about their like Forever game, their live service game they've been cooking up for a long time. And I am kind of worried about Crazy Taxi and stuff like that, how they'll handle that kind of stuff. But the results have been really strong. I forgot, Colin, you might know, like their RTS developer who they have and like
Relic
doing all that work. Yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they spun them out. Yeah.
And Atlas was a great pickup for this company.
Definitely,
huge
dude.
Pickup.
Definitely. And I was worried about that when that happened too, because I like Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked them, too. They were just a fringe weird publisher, not unlike Xseed or Axis or any of those other companies that were bouncing around, but they kind of got legitimized in some sense. They also had stronger IP that I think Sega identified early.
Yeah.
Sega's doing an awesome job. I mean, they are in a very different place than they were 30 years ago, obviously, 20 years ago even. But they're in the strongest position they've ever been in as a third-party publisher. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, they understand the power of their legacy IP, which matters to people, and there's no reason to not experiment with that as you push forward with new stuff too. So I'm especially excited to see what they do with Crazy Taxi, although I'm afraid it's not going to be what I want it to be. It's going to be I think they've already said it's going to be a multiplayer like online game, which it makes some sort of sense, but that's not what Crazy Taxi really was. But
right,
it's cool. It's cool to interpret it. Virtua Fighter coming back is weird, but cool.
Well, yeah. I think when 5 came out on PS Plus or whatever, they did 5, like the better version of it. I forgot, like the third version of the game. I think it did really well for them. So that's kind of why they greenlit this new one. But regardless, like you said, it's cool to see it back.
Yeah,
I don't see mind Virtua Fighter again.
Yeah,
so
I don't mind.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm not like a huge Virtua Fighter person at all, but it's just cool to see it. I hope Jet Set Radio is good. I really love the old Jet Set Radio games. So I hope it's sick. All right, this is from Tragic Tactics. My keep it up is to Gus, the developers of the, how do you say this?
Atelier.
I can never remember how you say this. Yeah. Atelier games. So over the break, I completed the Black Ops 6 Battle Pass and did the grind for all the camos and every gun, and I was left dumbfounded by what to do next. I'm on my way one way or another, I got sucked into the Atelier games. Pretty interesting turn-based JRPGs, and there is a ton of them on PlayStation and Switch. Was wondering if any of you guys have played any of these games before. I think I dabbled on one of them on PS2, an early one, I suppose, but I don't really remember anything about it at all.
You played them, don't you, Micah, or you have?
I played one of them on Vita. I got it during like the PlayStation summer sale. I think it was like The Alchemist at Dusk or something. The names are stupid. The names are like Fallout Boy songs. Yeah, I played Atelier Aisha, The Alchemist of Dusk on Vita. I probably bought it for like $1.99, right? I liked the game a lot, but I completely misunderstood that it was timed. So I'm just having a great time. I'm doing side quests. I'm bebopping along. And literally in this game, you are looking for your sister who's missing. Okay. And if you don't like find her in time, the game just ends. And
Really?
It's just over. And I did not understand that you had like 30 days or however many days it was. And I'm just like bebopping along and I'm having a great time. And then like one day it's just like, and that's it. And the game's over. I was like, oh, they're not all timed like that. But I just kind of stopped trying them out after that point. I have heard decent things about Atelier Ryza, but the tricky thing is that most of the reviews just mention that she's got these big thighs, right? And I'm like, I'm not trying to play this for that. Literally, you go on Amazon and check the reviews. There are so many people being like, the game's okay, protagonist is hot. And it's like, that's not a review. I need to know if the game is good, not if it looks good. And so it's like,
that's good for some people. That's all that matters.
Right. So now the new one's coming out, Atelier Yumi. I think it is Yumia. It's something. I don't know. But in that one, all the posters are of her butt. And I was like, I think I'm just going to pass on that one too. Because we went from thighs to now it's butt. And it's like, if this is the main draw of the game, it's just not for me. But I think they're interesting. I would probably try out the older ones that were a little less goonish. Because,
yeah. Oh, she's got some thighs. Whoa. Yeah.
I'm looking.
Dude, no, yeah, exactly.
I'm looking here. It's on the Atelier wiki. It says there have been 27 main games in the Atelier franchise, which are divided into 10 subseries. And then there seems to be side games. There's a dozen side games, and then remakes and ports, probably 25 of those.
There's a ton.
Yeah, it's well, what I remember is when I was the senior editor of IGN PlayStation and I ran the channels, we would get the builds of these games because Gust is owned by Koei Tecmo. And they just let them make that other series R No Surge or something like that. And Gust also makes the Fairy Tail games now. So Atelier is what they're primarily known for. And we would get these builds, and then I'm like, I'm not reviewing. I wouldn't review most of this stuff anyway. We would get a lot of games at that era from like NIS, Xseed, Atlas, like all. And I was like, well, those are just by virtue of time, unless it's like a Catherine or a Persona or something, would go out to a freelancer. So I remember just kind of getting those games, getting the builds, and then just kind of distributing them to people to review them for us. So I never even bothered playing them. And then I remember that Gust and Koei Tecmo did prominently support, as Micah said, Vita with the Atelier games. Because we didn't even get... Atelier started on PS1, but the series didn't come to the West until the late PS2 era. I think Atelier Iris was the first Atelier game in the West, and that was like pretty deep into the series. I want to say that was like 10 games in. So there's a shit ton of them that we don't even have as well. Yeah.
Crazy.
So yeah, so it's not for me, but I'm glad that people are into it. It's funny here. Do they have sales numbers? I don't know. I wonder how these sell. Oh yeah, as of August 2023, the series has shipped 7.5 million units. Wow. So it's like they're not selling that many copies of these games. They're just busting them out.
This is why they're lean. Well, this is why I'm sending you guys a link in the Zencaster chat. This is the official Atelier Games website. And I just need you to scroll down. This is why they're doing this. Okay. This is why they're doing smart. This. Because Ryza got 3 games with her big ass thighs, and now Yumiya, and they're like butt. And like this is literally
she got little thighs, but big butt.
This is the homepage for the game. This is what they're selling you on. And it's just one of those things of like, I'm not hating on it, but it's not for me. If I wanted to get into these, I'm going to go to the old ones.
This looks like a gacha game. Like this design, like all these characters and everything.
That's the thing. Look through all of them, and yeah, like they are leaning into this is the hot girl game now. That's fine, but they're definitely trying to sell more of these because you go read the Amazon reviews for the Ryza titles. The number of people who are like bought this just to see the thighs, and it's like, all right, you paid $30 to look at anime thighs. I mean, you could Google thigh for free.
My God.
Google 5 billion results.
do it fart.
Do it fart, girl.
Do it fart. Micah, yeah, this is like gacha mindset. And people will gladly pay for that kind of stuff. They're anime waifus. Easily.
The funny thing, what I always say to Colin is we'll go through the PlayStation store and there's all the like sexy mahjong and all those type of games. But why would you buy that on PlayStation where it's going to be censored? Like Steam is the place to play these where you can actually see real boob. Hello.
Right. Yeah,
like you're a crazy if you're buying this on PlayStation. What, you want to see a cartoon in a bra? You want to see the naked cartoon? You got to get it on Steam. Why would you buy this on PlayStation? It's I like that is literally the craziest thing to me that anyone buys those on there specifically.
Yeah.
When you can go on Steam and there's a million actual nude games. I'm
dude,
like,
yeah.
what?
Steam is the platform for gooners, 100%.
Dude, yeah, it's like, who's buying this on PlayStation? Who's buying sexy mahjong on PlayStation? Why
Some
would
like
you?
16-year-old kid that can't afford a computer or something like that. I don't know.
It's good and you
Little
Google
Timmy.
boob, it's free. You
I know.
can Google boob right now, Brad, and it's free. They're all there, all of them.
Everyone has got a price they'll pay for something, Micah. They could get, but you know what they need for you, Micah? They need to make like an old man gotcha game or something like that. They get a bunch of old dudes. Oh, did they?
It's called Pub Encounter.
Pub Encounter? Well, is it an actual gotcha game?
It's a visual novel.
Oh, it's a visual novel. No, I'm talking a gotcha game where you're spending money on pulls to get these old dudes.
You could never microtransactions. The only microtransactions I ever bought was the Mechanic Baird skin in Gears of War.
Yeah, don't
5,
say never.
Was that the last one they fucking made? Yeah, 5. I bought the Mechanic Baird skin for $5. It was awesome. It was worth it.
Yeah, they'll get you someday, Micah. It's gonna happen.
They won't.
Happens to everybody.
They won't. They can't.
Be ready.
They can't, Brad. They can't.
You say that. It's going to happen. I've seen everyone break at some point. Everyone will break. Colin, they'll do some fucking George Washington gotcha game or some shit like that.
That's why I just try not to judge too much. It's crazy how much money people spend on all this stuff. I still think the skins for $20 is the fucking craziest thing that people do. But I'll get got at some point.
Mm-hmm. No, if there's ever a sexy Zelda mahjong and it's like, we got the Red Lion boat. All right. We got, the random old man from a town. It's like, okay, you got me. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to like, if you ever get the Phantom Hourglass, I think you're going to like Linebeck, who is like your secondary character. Kind of an old grumpy guy, sarcastic guy.
These touch controls, Brad, I don't know. I love the 3DS.
No, they suck.
The stylus,
the
stylus, I'd rather shove it up my ass than play a whole game with it.
I would only recommend those games to you if you've done all the other ones first. That's it.
Yeah, well, we're going to try. I always quote it, and there's you know what? This is gonna be one of those things. Like, there's that guy. It's a movie, and the man, and he's like, everyone. I always quote that, but I don't know who it's from.
Yeah,
there
I know
it is.
The meme though.
I was like, that's Edward James Olmos.
No,
it's not. And that's why my references to people aren't helpful. Somebody on Twitter was like, which Zelda games do you plan on playing? And I replied with that because that's the goal.
Yeah, eventually. Wow, I was thinking about that now, Colin. A Mega Man gotcha game. What if that's the next Capcom
I mean,
thing?
whatever, man. At this point, just do something with it.
You can get, dude.
Yeah, but no, it's the same thing I say about pre-ordering and getting that early access. It's like I judge that until a game comes out that does that. Then I'm going to do it. So to each their own. Are you ruining the industry with these games? Of course you are, but that's okay. So who am I to? I'm just a prognosticator and an observer. Who am I to dictate the terms?
Yeah. Like if they were to do early access, get Shadow Man. Just like, well, get Top Man. I'm like,
Top Man. Top Man's sick, bro. Don't sleep on Top Man.
Top Man.
Yeah.
Where's Bottom Man?
Oh.
Sequel. All right. Colin, Borderlands. Yeah. Borderlands 1 you've also played.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this. What's going on? Why are you playing Borderlands 1?
I don't know. Okay. So I've been in a real mood for first-person shooters. And it's funny, I actually played Borderlands and went through all of it before I did the Doom games. I was looking at my trophies of like, when did I stop? And I got the last trophy in Borderlands for beating it on Christmas Eve. So that was like a very early game in my run here. And so as I've said before, I Borderlands 1, 2, and 3 and Tiny Tina. I beat Tiny Tina, but I never beat Borderlands 1, 2, and 3. I just played them all extensively. And I was like, got to just beat these games. And again, with Borderlands, looking at the trophies, I'm like, dude, I was like 5 hours from the end of the game at most. And when I stopped playing it, on PS4, on PS3, back when it came out in 2009 or whatever it was, I was further away from the end. So I was like, Jesus, why did I stop playing this and just have to go through all of this again? But nonetheless, I sat down for, I don't know how long it was, maybe 40 hours or something like that. And just played through all Borderlands, did all of the main quests. Wasn't playing it for trophies or anything like that because the trophy, it's just it's too difficult. It's just too annoying. I'm not going to do it. So I was just playing it, and I just wanted to do all the missions, see the end of the game. It ended up being played very similar to how I played Tiny Tina's Wonderland, where I just ended up kind of being all right, whatever. I don't care about any of this. But the gameplay is so fun, and it's so interesting to see it at its more. What's so fun?
I was just gonna say, that's how I play BioShock. Like audio diaries, like whatever. Just the gameplay.
Oh man, that's so funny.
That's good. That's great. By the way, there's a nostalgic aesthetic there. I tried to show Micah, I think I did. There's like a stinger to the song that plays in the opening map that is very nostalgic to me. Like this kind of sustained note, this tone. And it reminds me of living in an in-law apartment in San Francisco early on in my time there. And I also remember the woman that appears, like the blue woman that appears on the screen that's like talking to you from remotely throughout your quest. I remember thinking, and her hair's blowing and stuff like that. I remember being like, that looks so real when it came out. And I was looking at it still, and I'm like, it does. It looks great. Like I was reading a little bit about the game, and I was remembering, and I think Micah and I were discussing it a little bit. I'm like, Borderlands was in development for a long time, and it didn't look like this until pretty late in development. It wasn't like this cel-shaded stylized game. And what I didn't realize was that they changed it so late, and it was such a dramatic change that the art director quit and then never worked on a game again. Like, it was such a bad experience. Right. But they saved it, I think, and gave it its telltale sort of cel-shaded, stylized, basic look that I think is beautiful and really works well for the game. So there's this combination of aesthetic and music and all the rest where I was like, damn, this was 15, 16 years ago. It's like, it was a long time ago when this came out. And then when it came out, so I played the Game of the Year edition on PS4, which I think came out in 2019 as a prelude to Borderlands 3, which would come out later that year. And I played it on there. It's at 60 frames. It's great. And at the time I played it and then I just put it down. So yeah, just got through all of it. And from there I was thinking, I'm like, should I go on to Borderlands 2? And I'm like, it's Borderlands 2, very similar to the original Borderlands. I'm like, I've played the first half of Borderlands 2 like 7 times at this point. And then I just stopped. And I'm like, and I really had to put my shoulder into Borderlands 1 where it's like, I know I have to do all this shit first. And then I get to the end. Couple of weird things I wanted to note about the Game of the Year edition. The DLC from the game, there's like 5 DLC packs of like various kinds, some story driven things like new maps. There's an arena component and all the rest. They fold into your quick travel module at some point, and so you can go to them, but they expect that you have beaten the game, but you can get there long before you do. So there's like story things that are weird and off, and then enemies that you encounter where I'm like, I don't even know what this enemy is. So something to keep an eye on. They didn't really gate those properly, I think, because of the cadence and also the nature of DLC in 2009, 2010 was a little different. Came out way after the game, so there was just assumptions based on where you would be in the game. So I understand that, but I think they could have done a better job of locking that stuff off because it seemed asynchronous. So that was a little bit weird. And yeah, that's basically the only technical issue I had with the game, and it's not even really a technical issue. It's just it's just out of order. And then the DLC I didn't find too compelling. I got sucked in for a little while into this, like Moxie, the chick with the big tits. Right. She has like that arena or whatever. And I went to that and I'm like, that's where Mike and I were playing. And I was like, who the fuck are these enemies?
Exactly. Yep. Like you were seeing end game enemies in the arena and you're like, what are these? And I just said nothing. Because it's like, this is some stuff from the very end of the game, and you're looking at it now. You weren't supposed to see this yet, but yeah, I think cool. The DLC for 2 was much better. Yeah, and I'll get into. So I have 2 complete or whatever that is too, and I'll get into that at some point soon. I think I just want to knock these out. It was very similar to Doom, where it's like now I'm ready for Doom Eternal, and it's not story driven really, wherein. Like when I played Spider-Man and then Miles Morales again in Spider-Man 2, it's like I wanted to really know what was going on, and I'm glad I did that.
But these games are not really about that. And so I feel like it's as long as just having beaten them and kind of familiarizing yourself with them again, you'll be ready when the game comes out. Like Final Fantasy VII, I was so glad I did Remake into Rebirth because it was just this continuous 120 hour thing or whatever. And it all made sense together. But I think I can split these up a little more safely and then save myself from the grind, because I'm pretty sure today, from when we're recording, if not tomorrow, Freedom Wars is out.
Oh yeah.
And so I want to jump into that soon and a few other things. So yeah. So Borderlands, scratch that off the list, and really, really fun and cool to see kind of I know the color coding of items and stuff comes more from like Diablo and some other PC stuff, but it really was Borderlands that I think set that into play for console games. Orange, blue, purple, green, whatever. So it's kind of cool to see that. It's very quaint, as a word I like to use often.
Let's read this question from Ding Dong. Hey, Secret Santas. I hear Colin's playing one of Brad's favorite comedic FPS games of all time, Borderlands 1. Please, I beg you, share some of that groundbreaking, bleeding edge comedy that made this game an instant classic. I'm sure the jokes about midgets and fart noises have aged like fine wine. Seriously, though, I love to hear Colin's take on how the humor holds up today. Especially through the lens of nostalgia, we do things differently around here. But nothing. Oh, this is Southern Man right here.
Things a little bit differently around here.
But nothing but love from the deep south of Georgia.
We do things a little bit more deliberately down here.
Yeah. A little more slow. All right, so humor. I don't think I really played Borderlands 1, so I have no idea what the humor is like in this game.
Why did you say that about you then?
Because, it's Borderlands 2 is when I really hated it. The humor in those games.
Yeah, I know they said, it's funny, man, like these games were so easy to kind of tune out when they came out and play with. I used to have a really nerdy setup on my in-law because I had two small flat screen TVs and there was this corner shelf. And so I just had like the two TVs on this corner shelf, and then I would have like a football game on and like a game that I would be playing.
Oh, dude, nice.
And but they were not impressive. These are like 720p, 1080i, whatever kind of screens. And Borderlands is one of those games that I played even then, where I was like, you kind of tune in during a story scene or kind of get a grasp of things, but I'm not really listening to the games. And so I did listen more this time through, and there are some things that did make me laugh, like some funny throwaway lines, but the humor is not really what I get in for. But I am also surprised why it annoys people so much, because I find it so easy to ignore, because the game is just gameplay fodder. It's just running around, killing things, collecting loot. I can ignore all the rest. So I don't even know what the fuck these games are about, really. I mean, well, I know what Borderlands 1's about now for the first time, which is cool. But Borderlands, like Tiny Tina's Wonderland, when that came out 2022 or whatever, I beat that game and I'm like, I just started being like, all right, whatever, like whatever this. And it was the humor but I was just able to get through it because I found it fun. But now with the new Borderlands, they're like, it's like, it reminds you what Square Enix is doing with Dragon Quest 12, where it's like, this is gonna be a game for adults. Yeah, and it's like, okay, so they're like, Borderlands 4 is not going to have the quippy writing or whatever anymore. And I'm like, that's cool, because I don't really give a fuck about that. But isn't that kind of what it was?
Borderlands is, yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird times. I don't know. Borderlands. So one, I don't know, but two, I remember when I played 2, it felt like to me I was watching a guy do stand up and just bomb in a room with just me and him in it. I was just like, it's kind of awkward. I was just like, I don't know. I just feel uncomfortable with this shit.
I get it here. I get it. It's trying hard. It tries hard.
Love it. It does. And I know a lot of people love it. That's great. But yeah, it was never for me.
That's I'm with you, because I love Borderlands, but the humor isn't a big part of it. But I'll also say part of that was always playing these games co-op with a friend. You're talking to each other the whole time. You're not paying super attention to the story. The story does not really matter. And so it is easier to ignore when you're playing this game with a co-op partner, because you're chatting and talking about the new loot and whatever, and you aren't really paying attention to the story. If I was playing this by myself, like I did with Borderlands 3, and it kind of is like, the story is ass, but you just click through it. The gameplay is fun. Yeah. I am surprised that people go so hard against it, only because it's just so easy to just ignore it.
Oh yeah, that's what I do. I don't even play the game.
Yeah, because
I ignore the game fully.
It's so solid. Like, because I was like, Colin, what's your favorite weapons manufacturer? And he's like, I'm not like that in love with
Yeah.
it. But like I have my favorite weapons companies in the game, and like I get so into it. But no, the story doesn't. You don't give a fig about the story. Okay, we're not here for that.
Oh no, yeah. It's okay. I don't care if a game has a bad story. I can totally deal with that. It's just it felt like a toddler running around in circles around me the whole time, and I was just like, all right, that's enough. Just like calm down, little Timmy, for a second. Let's see, a little trivia for you guys here. In Borderlands, the psycho enemy can say, "Now it's time for my pound of flesh." This is a reference to a line in which William Shakespeare play. Okay, so we got.
I like how he gives you multiple choices.
Yes, all's well that ends well. Othello, Merchant of Venice, Macbeth. What are you guys going to say?
It's Merchant of Venice. Because that Shakespeare play is known for being like interpreted as being deeply anti-Semitic, too. Oh, it's in the white, yeah. It's Shylock, right? So, yeah, that's the only reason I know that.
Because it's anti-Semitic.
I mean, wow! I didn't even know they had Jewish people back then. You're telling me they had anti-Semitism way back then?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
I thought this was a new thing.
Nope.
Wow.
Turns out it's pretty old. Yeah.
The only Shakespeare, like we had to read Romeo and Juliet. We had to read Midsummer Night's Dream. I watched the fifth graders when I was a child. The fifth graders put on a production of Macbeth. It was quite good. That's my exposure to Shakespeare.
Quite good from fifth graders. Nice.
You know what? They were excellent. All right, the guy that got to play Macbeth, he was a portly young lad. He was hamming it up on there. Oh my god, he was having his day.
That's awesome,
dude. Shakespeare's awesome. I was in like a Shakespeare thing in middle school, and I was in a couple Shakespeare these shitty Shakespeare productions. It was fun. Yeah. I played Claudius in Hamlet. That was my biggest.
That's so funny. I didn't know you did like acting.
Yeah, a little. I mean, not very much. Like I have these weird things where because obviously I'm known for playing the drums and doing that stuff like that, but I did play piano for a year and like saxophone for a little while and do things. And like acting was like one of those forays. And even in high school, I got into like lighting a little bit with my friend for some of the plays too. But I never really caught on to any of that stuff. I was just
interesting.
So I tried a few different things.
Just
I wasn't very good.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool though.
Yeah.
All right. This is from Michael J. Sutherland. Happy New Year to the meme princess and the two accompanying gentlemen. I, like Colin, have played almost all the Borderlands games and never seem to finish them. What can the developers do differently to change up the usual chemistry of the game, as it's getting somewhat rote and mundane at this point? Thanks, and I hope everyone else had some decent rest over the holidays. All right, Colin. What do they got to do to change the formula up, you think?
I don't know. I mean, it was funny. I was playing it. It's a game made for multiple players. You summon your vehicle, get into the gunner's seat. Someone gets in the driver's seat, and you're like running around doing crazy shit. I play these games by myself, so I understand. It's very similar to my playthroughs with The Division, where it's like this seems more, or even Outriders, like a game I love Outriders, for instance. But it's like you have to overlook the repetitive nature of what you're doing because you're forcing yourself into this game's not really for you. And that's kind of the way I always felt about Borderlands. It's like, it's allowing me to play it, but it's not really for me. It's just checking boxes and doing these missions and getting the story sequences. But it was really about the different classes, the interplay between classes, playing with friends, playing with people online, going after the loot and all of that. But if you don't buy into any of that stuff and you still want to play the game, then you have to understand, in my opinion, that there's going to be a level of repetition to it. It's not unlike many other games that we play. Far Cry is a deeply repetitive game, for instance, but that's like what it's all about. So it'll be interesting what they do with Borderlands 4. It's what I was saying earlier about the humor. Do what you want with it, because I don't really care. But you start redesigning a game too much, and then it's just not what it was supposed to, or it's not. Why is it just not something new at that point? So I think it's one of the things that made me scared about getting into Borderlands 2 was I kept showing Micah, I kept going into like the complete mission sequence in your little HUD. And I just would scroll for like a minute and it would just like going down all the missions. And I'm like, look at all of the shit I've done. And you're just like, get these things and give this thing to this person and find this and all that. And I'm like, I kind of dig that. So I don't want them to get too far away from that. But Borderlands 2, like the reason I've been afraid of getting into Borderlands 2 is for that reason. The other side of the coin, it was just like, damn, dude, that was a lot in Borderlands, and it's going to be fucking way worse in Borderlands 2. I mean, I remember that game being way bigger, plus all the DLC and all the rest. So maybe you make a tighter product, but I don't know that that's what people want, because then they'll accuse you of slashing pieces of the game off and selling it later and doing all of the rest. So I think Borderlands 3, as I recall, because I played it so fucking much, was, and I never beat it, was like, this game's fucking huge. And that was without any of the DLC. So I don't know that they have to redesign the wheel. It's like, just make a Borderlands game. I think that's what people want. And it's been a while. Yeah. It'll have been 6 years. So.
Oh, for a numbered game. Yeah. But they did Tiny Tina.
Right. In 22. Like, yeah. But a numbered. Yeah. I don't think it's fairly clear no one played Tiny Tina. They apparently canceled the sequel outright. So
damn.
That broke a couple months ago, I think, at the most, that they were just not going to move forward with the sequel after all. So so I don't know that I would count that, because it was 09 for Borderlands 1, 12 for Borderlands 2, 19 for Borderlands 3, so that would have been a bigger gap, 2 to 3. But there was a shit ton of DLC. They were releasing DLC for like 3 years consistently.
Yeah, and they did the pre-sequel.
And the pre-sequel, that was 2K Australia, but you're right, that was on PS3 only in 2014, which made it weird.
It was weird. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, Micah, Story of Seasons, Trio of the Towns. Talk to me.
Okay, so holiday break comes up. I knew I wanted to play something cozy for our vacation. I considered finally playing Spiritfarer, because I've wanted to play that game for years. I've heard that it's excellent. That game describes itself as a cozy management game about death. And it really just seems like every time I have the inkling to pick it up, though, someone has died recently in my life, and I'm just not in the mood for it. My grandma died the week before Thanksgiving this past year, and I was just like, still sad about that. So I wasn't in the mood for Spiritfarer. Someday I'm just going to force myself to play it, because it looks excellent, but nevertheless. So instead, I decided to go into the backlog, and I got Story of Seasons, Trio of Towns for the 3DS. I played like a disgusting number of hours of it on the break. Like, when I realized I crossed like 40 hours of it played, but it felt like 10 minutes had gone by. Okay, like,
that's awesome.
I love little farming games. And I'd mentioned, somebody actually, shouted out, I'd mentioned like Diner Dash on a previous show. Like, my sister and I were obsessed with those stupid little games like Diner Dash. Cake Mania was the other one that I had thought of. And I actually went and played it online the other day, because you can just like play it in your browser. And man, it was not as good as I remembered, but I knew exactly why I loved it so much. Your customers get in line and they order your cakes, and you're zipping around your bakery, right? I love management games. Lemonade Tycoon was a cell phone game my mom had back in the day on her Sony Ericsson flip phone.
Wow.
And I fucking loved Lemonade Tycoon. You're a kid running a lemonade stand. You got to set your prices. People will buy it. I've been obsessed with this for ages. So I just really was in the mood for something like that. I had told Colin specifically, this is perfect because I don't have to talk about it because it's not very interesting. However, now we're going to talk about it because I sure have a lot to say regardless. These games have more to them than people might realize. This game has you start off, your father is like a wealthy businessman, very much, it's like a Mary Poppins type dad, like instead of letting you spend your tuppence on some bird seed, he's like, put it in the bank, and he sings a song about it. He's like that. And so you tell him you want to be a farmer, you have a big fight about it. And then he sets you up that his brother is going to help you start your farm. Your Uncle Frank is a farmer. You're going to move to his town, start your own little farm. And so this is, kind of like the overarching story is your dad will periodically send you these to-do lists to prove yourself as a farmer. So you get started, obviously very little money, very little space. You're going to start your little farm. And you have to build your farm up. And each time you complete a set of tasks for your father, you will unlock more farming space, which is essential. And then you also are leveling up your relationship with each town. So there are 3 towns, as in the name. And you're going to, by shipping them items, by doing tasks for your neighbors, you're going to level up your relationships with them. They will eventually give you specific tasks to complete. The game really keeps you motivated with like specific things to do. Of course, it's very freeform. You have your own timeline to do these things, but it really will keep you on task because it will just keep reminding you like you do have this overarching mission to do. These games also usually have like festivals and celebrations, and those will be like different contests as well. Another thing to motivate you to keep leveling up your crops, your animals, etc. Like because you want to be, so like you win a contest, then your milk will sell for more. Stuff like that. So it really motivates you to keep these things in your mind and to keep like focusing on them. But you don't have to. You could just play this as a cozy farming game and take care of your animals and not give like a fuck about any of the other stuff. But there is plenty to do. The game is certainly not boring. It does some interesting things too. Like there's a part-time job mechanic in the game. It's not done very well in the beginning, but because the idea is supposed to be that when you first start out, and you don't yet have any crops because they take several days to grow and you don't have any animals yet, here are some part-time jobs you can do to earn money. But they did not filter out part-time jobs that you cannot complete. So it literally is like day 1 and it's asking you like ship 3 eggs. And I don't even have a chicken. And it's only giving you 3 jobs per day in the early stages. So it's fundamentally broken early on because it's really not helpful. But later on, once you unlock everything, the part-time jobs are essential for late in the season when you can't plant new crops because like the next season's going to start soon. You can do a bunch of part-time jobs. It allows you to level up your relationship with your neighbors and all that stuff. It becomes an essential function, but they did kind of fumble it in the early stages because they tell you flat out, here's a way to earn money before your crops come in. And then they're like, we need 3 milks. And it's like, a cow is $5,000. I don't have a fucking barn. I don't have a cow. I don't have any of this. And they kind of mess it up. But once you get into the meat of the game, it's really well done. Romance, of course, there's romance. Colin had said, he's like, how much more of your farming game are you going to play? Because you don't really beat it, right? And this game does have a solid, like, end goal with the goals that your father sets out for you. Like that kind of is the end of the game. And then of course it just goes on forever. But I was like, for me, getting married is always the end of these games. I did the same like Harvest Moon and New Beginning on 3DS, which I loved. And it's like the goal is to get married. That's how I play these. I am just a bachelorette in town trying to get married, and as soon as I get married, then I'm comfortable being like, I beat the game. And that's kind of always my end goal. Never the children part though. Like it's always after that. It's like you know, and I don't know. We don't need any of that. And they lived happily ever after. But the romance is fun. It's cheesy. It's wholesome. Part of what appeals about that is that it literally is just completely wholesome. You know, like you give your boyfriend like a hug on Valentine's Day and it's like, goodbye, sweetie. And like, that's it, right? It's just, I don't know. There's something nice about it. There's something nice about just playing this really wholesome, cute game. And I don't know. Do I love The Witcher 3? Of course I do. But God almighty, it's like after having Geralt bang like the 6th woman, I'm like, I don't feel so good. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have made him such a slut. I don't know. So there's something really nice about these cozy, weird, little cute games. And you can skip the romance entirely. That's another thing. You don't have to do any of that. You get like bonus like scenes with your, sweetheart if you do have one, but you can skip it. The game gives you so much freedom. You don't have to, match up with anybody at all. You can just run your farm and hang out with your uncle and, like there's this creepy thing with your uncle in the first. So like you meet your uncle. And, literally. Okay. You meet your uncle and he goes, now I got to tell you something. In this town, everybody hugs when they meet. So how about trying it? You want a hug? And it's like the fucking weirdest thing. And then it feels like he tricked you because then only like 2 people ask you for a hug and everyone else in town does not ask you for a hug. And I was like, bro, I don't know what's going on here with
Charlie's
Uncle Frank.
uncle.
Dude, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I'm still playing it here and there. I'm not going to be playing it as heavily now, but it's definitely, it's a perfect bedtime game. The thing is you can save whenever you want. So this is absolutely perfect for playing a couple minutes at a time. Play 1 day cycle, which it's 1 second equals like 1 minute in the game. So I don't know how long that is for actually like 24 hours or whatever, but
that'll be 24 minutes, I think, a day, right?
All right. Yeah. There it is. Sure. And so you're going through, I don't know, man, don't make me do math like on the fly here, but you can play like a 1 day at a time, basically, for a 20-ish minute commitment per day, and you'll get through it. And it's really cute. This series in general, I like. If you were in need of a gift for a cozy gamer in your life, I recommend Story of Seasons over Harvest Moon. Mostly because of the vibe. Story of Seasons still has like some whimsy. Like you still have like the harvest goddess. You still have like your little forest sprite. But Harvest Moon, like just reading the descriptions of their recent games, they've gone really into the whimsy. And Story of Seasons is just a bit more grounded.
What happened with... it had something to do with Natsume and Marvelous, right?
Right. Marvelous split. And that was what the original guy. So Story of Seasons is technically the original Harvest Moon team.
Right. And then, so like the Harvest Moon continuity is like the original Harvest Moon games through 10 years ago, maybe. And then Story of Seasons. And then now Natsume develops internally the Harvest Moon games, but those aren't considered the real Harvest Moon games anymore or something.
And they're just weird. Like you read the descriptions of those games and they are just strange. Like a lot of people still really like them. But they're just strange compared to Story of Seasons. While it still has like the whimsy and like some of like the Japanese like folklore of like the harvest, goddess and stuff like that, like your little shrine to, the harvest maiden. It's just not as out there as Harvest Moon has gotten. I haven't played these yet, but I have seen really high praise for the Friends of Mineral Town remake on Switch. So if this sounds appealing to you, or if you think your wife would really enjoy that, Friends of Mineral Town seems to be a hit on Switch. Pioneers of Olive Town also looks pretty good, but just it seems like Mineral Town is the fan favorite right now. But yeah, I highly recommend this. Just if you're not on 3DS, you're not going to be able to play it.
Right. This is from RFK Jr. streaming with an anime girl VTuber avatar and his voice pitched up, but still wobbly. Ahoy, Micah. What is it about Harvest Moon likes that draws you in? My wife has played like 1 billion of them, and I'm wondering if these types of games appeal more to women for some reason. Also, if I may be so bold, I would like to recommend Graveyard Keeper to you if you haven't played it. Like Story of Seasons, it has you doing daily busy work, plus you get to play around with corpses. I know you're itching to murder someone, so maybe this game will help you suppress your urge in some way. Take care, Austin. P.S. Before you drop an actually on me, I am indeed aware that Story of Seasons is the real Harvest Moon these days. All right.
Oh.
What do you think? What do you think's appealing about these games, Micah?
It's my tasks. Oh my God, I love doing all my little tasks, right? It's, I do love animals. Genuinely, I love animals. I've always loved chickens, especially. I fucking love chickens, okay? So, of course, part of it is literally just getting to play farmer and collecting my eggs and giving my animals little treats every day. And you get to have pets. Like there's dogs in the game and they herd your animals and you play fetch with them. The fetch kind of sucks, but that's besides the point. It's just super cute. All right. And you get to hang out with your little farm. I do like gardening. Real life gardening, really hard. Real life gardening, vegetables don't always grow.
Yeah, they don't.
In Story of Seasons, you water and you add fertilizer and you get an actual star rating on your crops and you get to see it like grow, and I guess the improvement upon itself is part of the draw of your animals have a star rating, and they also have like an affection meter of how much they love you. And like you build up those meters continuously. Same with your crops. Like you have a 5-star crop after like months of work, right? Because you can't do it all in one season. So, for example, you start out with seeds that are like half a star. And by the end of a full season, if you're like really strategic, you can maybe get up to like 2-star crops. That's like if you're like busting your ass, right? Watering twice a day, adding the fertilizer every day. And you got to choose which type of fertilizer. It's a lot.
Busting my ass out here.
They got me out here working like a slave. But so they have cotton in the game, and I haven't bought it yet. Oh my god, I gotta get back to that. That's another thing.
Yeah,
don't remind me about being black in the game. I gotta get back to that.
Sure.
But I do just love the strategy of it and just the coziness. Oh my god, it is just cozy. You're doing your dumb little tasks. You gotta deliver milk to the lady down the street. Some of it's just funny. Like a dude will be like, "Can you deliver this package?" And the woman is literally standing right next to him, and he gives you like $300 to do it. You know,
dude, nice.
So it's cozy. It's fun. It's just doing little tasks, man. I love my tasks, but the game lets you choose your skin tone. This was very important. The game lets you choose your skin tone right at the beginning. And I was like, cool, I'll make her my little brown farmer. She looks like me, okay? And then the game starts and your whole family is still white no matter what color you choose for yourself. And so it just looks like they adopted me.
Yeah.
And like it's hysterical only because it's like I'm just like clearly black and then your family is very white and it just looks like you just walked in off the street. And then like you meet your uncle, also white. And it's now that is what my life is like, because like I'm at like my dad's family reunion and they're all white, and you know. But I was like, it's just really funny that the game did not just shade these people based on what you picked, and you could be like dark brown, and your family is just like white. And they're all like, hello, dear.
Yeah.
It is really funny, those early cutscenes, because they don't even make your sibling the same color. Like, I don't know, something. They completely
Maybe
overlooked
your mom
that.
Cheated on your dad or something in the game. I don't know.
That's the funny thing, is that it opens up these like sinister options of how this happened, because you just clearly have 2 white parents, a very white sister, and then I'm just like here. And there's no explanation for it. Like I laughed when I saw it, just because they're like, good morning, sweetie, and it's like family meeting time, and like it's all these white people and then me. So that was an oversight, but it adds to the humor of the game, so I won't give them a knock for that.
All right, cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Have you played Stardew Valley, Micah?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say you gotta play that one.
I loved Stardew Valley. Excellent title. Once again, though, like that one, I played through to the ending, of like the main quest, got married, had enough. I love these games, but I don't know how people play them for like 1,000 hours. Because the fun for me is starting a new farm. When you like, I'm already at a point where I have way too much money. Like they're like, we need $70,000 to fix something. I'm just like, here you go. And I have like 300,000 in the bank, and I'm already at the point where I just have way too much money. The game's economy like heavily favors if you ship food, like cooked dishes. And I did that when I like was desperate for money, but then I like made way too much money. So the game's kind of already broken in that regard. The economy is just flooded with Micah dollars. And I'm not struggling anymore. So like the best parts of these games for me is the early struggle, A, to start your farm and get going, B, finding the most like surly, disinterested man in town and forcing him to love me. That's always the second half of the game. Every game like this I play, I go for the guy who's like the least interested in me. I always win him over. That's the goal. Did it in real life too.
You like the challenge. That sounds like a woman. They like the challenge.
Oh, dude. I mean, actually, too, I still have like the wedding photos from my 3DS marriage in Harvest Moon: A New Beginning to Neil. Neil fucking hated me. Oh my God. From day one, Neil couldn't stand me. And I was like, I'm going to make you my husband. And I did the same thing in this one. There's this really mean doctor named Ford. And June 1st, 2017 will be my and Neil's anniversaries, us walking down the aisle.
Wow. Look at that.
There's no screenshot function on the 3DS for like the main screen, right? So I do just have a couple photos from it, and like I'll just periodically like tweet it out on our anniversary. But my first marriage.
Man, that's funny. Okay, for our last game, Colin, Silent Hill 2 Remake. You're back.
Yeah, so I came back to it. I was done with Borderlands, and then Doom and Doom Eternal, and I've been playing Dragon Quest 3 in the background, like on my Portal. Game is good, but I'm at near the very end now, but it's very grindy, so I'm just trying to get through it. So yeah, I was like, what do I move on to next? And Silent Hill 2 has been on my cross media bar for a while, so I was like, I'll just try this again. I have the Pro now. We got it at launch, but this game wasn't ready for it, and I was having really bad shimmering problems on the PS5 in the game, and it was distracting the shit out of me actually in the beginning of the game. And so I just was like, I'll put this away and this will be fixed. And so I came back to it, and I'm 12 hours into it now. The PS5 says I'm like 67% through the game, so about 2/3 through the game at this point. I really, really like it. I think it's great. I played Silent Hill 2 back when it was on PS2. It was an early PS2 release. I really don't remember very much from it at all, to be honest. And I'm not a Silent Hill 2 fan, or a Silent Hill fan. I've only played Silent Hill 1 and 2, and then I played Book of Memories, which is the Vita game. But I'm not a fan of the franchise or have anything like really deep or meaningful to say about it from that perspective of deep fandom. But I love survival horror games, and so I wanted to give this one a try. And I think it's really great. It differentiates itself from a lot of the contemporary AAA survival horror games in that I think it's more cerebral, and in some way it's more video gamey. There's a lot of combat, and yet there are very few characters. There are very few cutscenes, and it kind of never really tells you what's going on, at least where I am now. Like, you're kind of just in this situation. You know what you're doing. You're looking for your wife. You meet some strange characters along the way. And basically, I guess what I'm saying is, and it's funny because Mike and I were watching something about Rene Magritte yesterday, the surrealist painter who I love. And I love surrealism. And the game is surreal. And so if you take like Resident Evil as a survival horror game, and most of those games, they're about corporate conspiracies and zombies and all of that. Dead Space is about religion and all, space corporations and government and all that. And you have something like Silent Hill that's, at least Silent Hill 2 from what I've played so far, that's like truly surreal and strange. It's most like Alan Wake, and Alan Wake is most like Twin Peaks, and there's a Twin Peaks aesthetic and like kind of feel to this game, in my opinion. You basically go into different worlds. Mm-hmm. It's very Alan Wake like. The combat's fun. I love how it's more, and this is where it gets to be more of a video game than like a Resident Evil. Resident Evil, which I think is great. I love Resident Evil. Makes you kind of organize you get like your briefcase, and then you can like expand it. And you got to fit things into slots. I literally have like in Silent Hill, I have like a pistol, a rifle, a shotgun, and a steel pipe. And I have, I think, almost 200 rounds for my pistol and like 50 rounds for my shotgun. And I think there's like a small potion and a big potion kind of thing. They're like medicine and like a syringe. I have like 20 syringes and like 40 pieces of medicine. It's just funny. It's much more video gamey, and it kind of reduces the tension of the game in some sense because you are very well equipped. Like, I am overly well equipped. I've tried to there were times where I'm like, I'm using too much ammo, and then I just stop using ammo, and then you end up with like so much. You're finding so much.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, by the way, because I think it's actually similar to Alan Wake in this sense. Like, you realize in Alan Wake, this isn't really a spoiler, that everything in Alan Wake was placed there by the writer. When you find ammunition, it's like that was found there, as opposed to in this surreal experience, this supernatural, otherworldly experience. They use the term otherworld. So otherworldly experience, you're just finding shit everywhere, but why wouldn't you? It's like, okay, it's a video game. It's fun. I'm playing on a normal. If you put it on hard, probably some of this stuff is gone. If you put it on easy, there's probably even more of it. I also find the enemies to be really frightening. Specifically, there are these enemies that are legs and then a torso and then legs.
Yeah.
And they hide, but they don't hide well. And there's something, and they have like, you could tell that there were different scenes set up. When you look here, you're going to see one run across. When you look here, you're going to see one skitter across the ceiling or something like that. But then you just turn around in a corner and you're like 5 feet from one and it's just crouched, like pretending it's not there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so unsettling and fucked up. And I scream. Like I've been playing it on headphones and I'm like, oh shit. But like, I'm just like, I'm in like a silent living room. I'm always surprised, but the game gives you enough leeway with all the items. It's not, I was playing it at first, like really carefully, like a Resident Evil game or a Dead Space where I would like go back to a previous save. If I didn't like, I was like, I don't like the way that I could use 3 bullets instead of 6. I used a healing item I didn't need to. And then I quickly stopped playing like that because I'm like, there really is no reason to play like that. You just, it's an action game that is a survival horror game as opposed to a survival horror game with action sequences in it. There's a lot of puzzle solving. I'm using a spoiler-free walkthrough to get through those things because I'm not fucking dealing with that. And I'm trying to get through all of the collectibles as well. There's like collectible letters and documents. There's collectible pictures. There are these flashback moments you can kind of capture and bring with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I dig it. I'm gonna beat it in the next 2 days probably or so. And we don't have football until Saturday now, so a lot of free time to just get things done from that perspective. And yeah, I got to give a shout out to Bloober Team. You know, I wonder if they're a team not unlike a Saber Interactive, not unlike a Blue Point, or even a Nix's or something, where they're capable of actually their best work when they just take something that exists and then make it better and make it modern. And I'm not trying to pigeonhole them because that's a good place to be. Like what you hear about the guys at Nix's is like, actually in Saber, it's like, actually we have a passion for that. Like that's what we like to do. So there's nothing wrong with it. That's like a skill, but this is like their 12th game, I think. And it's way better than I thought it was going to be. And I wonder how you don't want to take away their execution, but I wonder how much it's them and how much it's that this game was already beloved and they are simply interpreting it. And I don't mean to disrespect them in any way, but I just didn't think they were capable of making a game like this. So from that perspective, that's why I was never really that hot on Silent Hill. I'm like, this is cool, but I don't know. Is it going to be any good? I have no idea. I'm not going to have any expectations for this game because these guys make 70s, 60s on Metacritic. They make walking simulators mostly and weird puzzle games. They're responsible for the single worst PlayStation 4 game by review score ever made in Basement Crawl, so why believe? But now I'm a believer more. And I am interested in how I think this game did pretty well. And I'm interested in what will they do now? And this comes back into how I don't know Silent Hill and I just don't. And I haven't even read about it because I don't want to spoil anything for myself. So I'm really just like flying blind right now. But I don't know where this fits into the continuity, why they even began with this game and not the first Silent Hill, and where they go from here. Because Silent Hill 3, I think, is somewhat well regarded, but then people don't like Silent Hill 4, right? And then Downpour.
People like it.
Don't
after that, yeah.
Right. Okay. And then, so like it falls. So if they're going to continue down this trend, very similar, I guess, to what Konami's doing with Metal Gear, it seems like they're doing the same thing. I know Metal Gear, so I know that Metal Gear Solid 3 is the first game in the continuity. That's why they're beginning there, So is that a similar thing there? And then what direction do they go from?
I think they just did 2 because it's the most popular one. It's like a Resident Evil 2 thing almost. They probably saw Resident Evil 2 also. Of course, they made Resident Evil 1 a while ago, but
of course. No, that's probably, it took them a while to spool it up. I mean, that probably is a major component to it. So yeah, I don't know what direction they go in from here, but because there also are, I think, 2 new Silent Hill games in development, not with them.
Yes.
So I don't know what happens from here, but I'm rooting for Konami. Definitely.
Yeah. I think they could remake 1 or 3. I would like 1 first because I think it has a little connection to 3 if I remember correctly, but it's been a while. But after 4, it's kind of when it falls off, I would say, for a lot of people, including myself.
I never even played 3 and 4 as far as I remember. I mean, maybe I did. I don't remember.
3's cool. I like 3. 1 is super rough, but it is cool at the time.
Yeah, 1 I have
like
great memories of because
that.
I rented it with a friend. I've told the story of it, and we played it with a GameFAQs walkthrough on his laptop. And it felt counterculture just because everyone was so into Resident Evil by that point. We had gotten 3 Resident Evil games by that point, so it's right. So. Yeah, so it felt like, oh, this is like the competitor and we'll see what, and it ended up being pretty cool. And Silent Hill 2, I did have because it came out when I was a senior in high school, I want to say, but I really just don't. It's one of those games where I'm like, I just don't really remember this.
Dude, that's what happened to me. I played it when it came out, and I replayed it last year, and I was like, I don't remember anything from this game when I was going through it. So, not just me or you. All right, I hate this name, but this is from Dolphin Cum Jelly.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh my God.
Hey, they whatever their name they write, I have to read it. It's just the rules, all right?
I know. It's what we said when somebody asked if we could censor punching up, and it's like, we're gonna have to censor your Discord names, right? Like, it's the write-ins that would have to be censored too.
Yeah. All right. Finally, Colin plays Silent Hill 2. Although I understand why you stopped. Quick question. Do you think the remake benefits from the over-the-shoulder perspective? I would have preferred if they kept the more fixed angle, as it adds greatly to the atmosphere, in my opinion. The remake is still great at the end of the day, but I can't help but miss this from the original. Thanks, and welcome all LSM to 2025.
Doing that certainly would have differentiated it from what Capcom is doing. But
yeah.
No, I think it's exactly what it needs to be. You have to if you're going to do this, you need to make it modern. In my opinion. Otherwise, what is the point of not just porting it? You just port it and upscale it. So no, I think they did a surprisingly nice job. And by the way, the problems I was having with the game were gone for the most part. The specific problem, and it's not that uncommon. I think people were being kind of pedantic in some parts of the community, being like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, you can Google around about it. Where there's moving rain and bodies of water, so like a puddle, for instance, the game shimmers at it constantly. So, because the raindrops are hitting it. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy, like how bad it was when I played it. Like I was like, this is horrible. Like, this is horrible. How are people not complaining about this? So, 2 things that I think are somewhat relevant, though, is that it happens in daylight, specifically in the game, outdoors during the day, obviously, while it's raining and there's water around you. So this is a very early game problem and I don't know how much of a problem it would have been later on because you're inside a lot and doing other things in the game. But it's actually conspicuously still there sometimes when there's natural light coming into a dark room and you're inside, and basically there's like a sparkle to the water and you'll see the reflection sparkling on like a desk. And it's like, this is all fucked up. I don't know what is going on here with this, but it's not nearly as distracting as it was. And I know what they were going for there. I'm curious how they fixed it. It's probably with a bunch of technical shit I would never understand, but it did seem like the density of rain was also less when I played it again, wherein I think they were able to avoid just that constant movement that was causing that shimmer, with whether it was ray tracing or whatever. And this is another game that just makes HDR and this very high resolution shot just really stand out, where the blacks are so black. You really see it. Actually, it's very clever. And I don't know if they do this for this reason, but in the beginning you have that low res, like beginning of the game thing. That's like the footsteps, and it looks all washed out. I don't know if it's from the original game or whatever. And it looks like what a black looks like on a CRT. And what's so funny about that?
Just a black.
The color black. The blacks are so deep and the whites are so deep and so rich, like that. That like the game. I noticed this with Dead Space and some of the more recent Resident Evils too, where there's just so much more horror because there really is true dark. You can never get a black. You can't get black to show through a CRT without it glowing. You know,
right?
Anyway, I'm sorry, Micah, to thank you for ruining my train of thought.
I'm sorry, but then you literally said the whites are so rich. It just writes itself. I remember my Nana's TV, the color was all fucked up and black people always look red.
Damn.
Childhood memory.
It is just interesting that like you're looking at everything through like a light. So even in a dark scene, it would still be bright. The TV would light up. If you're in Silent Hill with the flashlight off, other than the small bit of like ambient light they put behind James's head, you could be in a dark room on a CR or on a flat screen TV, and it would be dark in the room. That's the difference I'm trying to say. And these games really make that shine through, and it's cool. Yeah. It's cool. It adds a lot of depth, and I think that horror continues to have a lot of potential and should continue to be revisited as much as possible. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Silent Hill moving forward. It seems like they have some potential. They did release that free-to-play game that got downloaded a bunch of times, but no, it was just the short message.
Short message. Yeah.
But I don't think people really liked it.
It's whatever.
This is what they have to be more deliberate and more careful. Like,
oh, they sure do. They can't make
it's like, why even release that at all? If you must have known internally that it wasn't that great, so like you're not selling it. So who gives a shit? Just put it away and don't ruin. So now they have like a goods. It reminds me a little bit of DC Comics. Just as an outside observer with their movies, where it's like, stop fucking around and stop messing it up, and just like, all right, restart again. And and it seems like they're going to do that with the new Superman movie and stuff like that. So
it seems like Silent Hill 2 is kind of like the start of a new thing. Because in my opinion, Silent Hill's been bad for a very long time.
Right.
Not great.
Right.
So now it's the time. Now you don't want to fuck stuff up.
Right. But so also you would think that, I think you're right. But I also think that if you're going to announce, I'm going to do something, and here's something, and we're going to do something new, and here's something shitty again. It's like from that
shitty things.
Right. From that point, you want it to be good. From the point you're like, we're going to do something different, then it has to be good, in my opinion. So it's not great guidance.
We're announcing that we're having beef Wellington for dinner, and everyone's like, oh, all right. And then they're like, and here's some Totino pizza rolls for the appetizer. And you're like, okay, all right.
Hey, I'd be down.
I mean, Totino's is a poor example. I fucking got 3 bags of them in my freezer right now. I'm a slut for Totino rolls. But if you're comparing it to beef Wellington.
What was that thing that you bought recently? The smiley faces? The
McCain smile potatoes. Yeah, the smiley fries. Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember when they came out when I was a child. Colin had never eaten one. Brad, have you had those before? The smiley potatoes?
I don't think so. Let me look this up.
Oh yeah, they're by McCain. They started coming out when I was in like elementary school, I think. They're so good. They're billed as like mashed potato, like, I don't know, fries, basically. Like, it says mashed potato something on the bag. They're so good. They're very divisive, Brad. And I was nervous for Colin to try one. And I was like, look at this little guy. He wants you to have a good meal. And Colin actually liked it. So I was very happy. He said he wouldn't want them like for dinner, which I understand. But I was glad that he wasn't opposed to it.
It looks like a fucked up tater tot almost.
And I love tater tots,
yeah, me too.
Bro. Those are
she loves a tater tot. And who doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, tater tots are good. They sure are. All right. Time to close the show with some questions from the audience. If you want to send in a question or a submission for the show, I post a thread every Saturday calling for your submission. So keep an eye out there. We do that for all of our shows too. So if you want to write something else in for another show, patreon.com/laststandmedia. You can see it all there. Okay, this is from Daddy Diddler. Happy New Year.
Together.
Random question. Which male video game character do you think has the biggest dick? We always know what the ladies are bringing. Eve, 2B, Chun-Li, Mai, Chitotse. What about the guys? Which guy would make the ladies say, oh my? And Brad, is there a place where they'll some communities share their Dondoku islands? Not that I know of. I haven't even done my island, so I'm the wrong person to ask. Ask Gene that question. Okay. Mike, let's ask you, though. Who do you think has got the biggest dick? And you can't say the answer. Boat. You can't say the boat from the Red Lions.
No. It's Wind Waker Ganon. Of course it is.
Ganon.
He's got that big robe on because he's always, popping a tent under there and he can't show it. That's why. That's why he's wearing that big ass robe.
So he's erect too, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Constantly. Constantly. He's just waiting to fuck. So, no, it's got to be Wind Waker Ganon.
Wind Waker Ganon. Okay.
The hottest
Oh,
Ganon there ever was.
Who do you think?
I don't know.
Who
Wouldn't
do
it
you
be
think's the
someone
biggest
like
schlong?
Kratos or Master Chief or Doom Guy or
Master Chief's a good pick. Yeah, Doom Guy's a great pick as well.
Maybe I was gonna say Zangief, but he actually probably fucked his dick up because he probably did a lot of steroids.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. His balls are probably shrunk and everything.
He probably fucked his shit up bad. Yeah, that's what comes to. I can't say I think about video game dick very often, but that's what comes to mind for me.
You think Sephiroth's got a nice dick?
There's potential there.
Feels like the sword's kind of compensating for something, but then you could also say the same thing for Cloud. Cloud's might be compensating for girth, like he might have like a long spaghetti dick, while Sephiroth's is long but thin, because he's got like a 2-inch dick, but it's 5 inches wide. Yeah,
it's like a tree stump or something. Yeah,
right.
Huh. Okay.
I could also imagine Sephiroth having a vagina. So
yeah,
no,
fair enough.
No. Don't ruin Sephiroth.
Yeah, let's give that to
Don't
Kefka
do
instead.
this.
I'm not saying he's a trans person or whatever. I'm saying he's a man with a vagina.
No. The only good part of you playing those Final Fantasy games is I get to see Sephiroth on screen.
Oh.
Otherwise, I have to watch all that slop.
Is Sephiroth the only guy you like in those games, Micah?
Yeah, he's pretty great. Yeah, he's fine. That guy in the red outfit that Matthew Mercer voiced was also pretty cool.
Vincent?
Yeah. And that was a sweet little story because they didn't tell him that's who he was going to voice. And they had him allegedly, they had him come in to do other lines. And then they revealed that's who he was voicing, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. I got to think Kiryu's got a probably pretty big dick. I don't know.
Relatively, relative to I'm sorry, rumors exist, but yeah, I'm sure relative to his own world.
Probably
why isn't anyone throwing out Barrett? There's only 3 black video game characters. You got
that's
Cog,
a great one.
Who am I thinking? What is from Gears of War? No, from Gears of War, he's in the Cog. What is his name? Coltrane. There it is. Yeah. Cole. You have him. You have Barrett. Do we have any other black video game characters?
No.
Nope. That's it.
That's it.
You got the guy from what was that arcane game? Deathloop.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah. All right. We got
Starhawk
3 black characters.
From Starhawk, whatever.
Oh yeah, what was his name? Graves, something Graves.
Yeah. Mafia 3. But
Mafia
that's
3, yeah.
Mafia 3.
Yeah, you're kind of rattling them off, Pokemon Red and Blue.
There's a black guy in that?
Jinx. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Wow, the Jinx callback. I like that, dude.
Everything rhymes,
Okay. Probably, you know what, Mike? It's probably the Goron from Ocarina of Time. That's your buddy in it.
Probably. That's a good guess.
Dick or some shit.
I mean, what's the situation on them? They're always naked.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with Goron?
Maybe it hides inside them.
I don't know.
Let us know who you think has the biggest dick in gaming.
Please don't.
Right in for the next episode. I'll report to Micah later on.
Thank you.
Okay. This is from Yoshua. Hey, Brad. After almost 3 years, I have finally come around to picking up Elden Ring. My fiance has completely lost me, and I am unsure if we will marry by the time I'm done with it. Holy shit. It is very good and stands up to the hype. I'm writing in because I audibly went, it's summon sign after I came across my first summoning sign before the first mandatory boss. I had no idea where you got the name from the show until now. It's the little things. Hope you and all the other summoners are doing well. And I'm looking forward to another great show. Yes, that is where summon sign is from. I think we explained that the first episode, maybe. So thanks for ratting yourself out as a latecomer. That's okay. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's where it's like a Souls reference where you summon players into the world. And just quickly from Brandon Tyler. Hello, summoners. What's your favorite fake or wrong video game leak of all time that people thought could be true? Well, I'm just going to say it because people are still talking about it. Even more rumors coming up now, and I hope it's true. But I'm just going to choose to believe it's fake now. Half-Life 3.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, who knows? It'll appear somewhat at some point.
Someday.
You know, there are some funny ones, but a recent one, and this is just fake information, like bad information that was circulating recently. Did you see the whole thing with Black Myth Wukong, where there was this idea that it never came to Xbox because Sony had a secret deal with them?
I did see that, yes.
And I remember saying from the beginning, I'm like, they don't, like, why would they not say anything? What is there any other example of them never saying something? What is the purpose of not driving people towards that if you're paying for it? And then it came out recently that's, apparently Game Science was like, we really just can't get the game running on Xbox Series.
Yeah,
X.
the director said
no
that.
shit. So this was just like such a blatantly fake piece of information. And it's weird that people bit Microsoft's weird statement about it back in the day, making it seem like, because they were like, we can't speak for other arrangements that they might have. And it's like, so yeah, of course you can. But these journalists and writers and commentators believed this. Just, it didn't make any sense.
I think the Dukes were talking about that. Like they were kind of huffing the copium, I think.
Yeah, I don't know like what it is about that. Like it doesn't pass the smell test because why wouldn't they just? So they're going to be like, we're going to sign a deal, but as part of the deal, we're not going to say anything, and we'll not even acknowledge it. You can't acknowledge it. We can't say anything. We don't know why we're doing this. So we're gonna have this exclusive, but we just can't acknowledge it. And we're going to do this because we don't want to affect our relationship with Microsoft. Like it doesn't even make any sense. Like it literally doesn't even make any sense. So I knew from the beginning it was not true. As far as video game leaks, a good one is Abby being trans. We were talking about that recently in another context.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell where that comes from. When I'm not going to spoil the game here, but it's like there was information, and it just got all mixed up. And it's like, so that was funny. The Last of Us, the original Last of Us, which I also won't say anything about, but that also had a lot of fake spoilers about it too, or like fake leaks and fake things. So yeah, I don't know. That's what comes to mind. As far as games that were like fake video game leaks, I don't know. There's like some fake hardware leaks. Hardware leaks are becoming a little crazier because of 3D printing now, and also really sophisticated rendering, even on CAD and stuff. Like you can, even when I saw the stuff leaking for Switch 2, which I believe is real, I only believe that because I've been reading about it and being like, I'm like, I see this stuff and I'm like, I don't know, that's not convincing to me at all. That someone sophisticated couldn't just print that or make this fake board or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. So it's different. It's a different time now.
Yeah, definitely. Micah, can you think of any examples?
Yeah, I mean, Abby was my answer because it's the funny thing is just you still see that from people who never played the game. You still see them say that online and be like, and she's trans. And it's like, it's okay. You still see that in the comments, but I try to avoid leaks as much as possible, strictly because there's too many things where it's like either the game, like something real might get leaked, but then never actually come out. And then I'm just disappointed that we never actually got it. Or two, it's things like we discussed earlier last year when it's like, oh, the Nintendo has a patent for this modular Switch design, and it's like this 4-piece Switch, and people ran with it like this is definitely what it's going to be. And I mean, they're doing that for clicks or whatever, but it's like, aside from what I look at for our podcast, I try to avoid leaks and shit because for the most part, it's like it's either fake or it leads to just like this rampant speculation that is instantly debunked later by the company. And I'm just like, I'm the wait and see type guy. Like Switch 2, still waiting to see. Have some hunches, but not any like diehard, like conclusions I've drawn about it, right? So I'm not the person who's like hounding for leaks online either. I try to like avoid most of that discourse and most of that discussion, except where it's work related.
Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago, there's rumors about Retro making a Star Fox racing game, and people were so sure about that was going to happen.
What a complete waste of time that would have been.
Yeah.
So
yeah, having Retro do that.
We haven't had a Retro game in almost 10 years. It's like, yeah, good. That's great.
Yeah. And
well,
of course,
my uncle's gardener's niece works there, and she told me about it.
Yeah,
I might play Metroid when it comes, because I'm sure Micah will get the new Switch. And,
Prime 4?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Because I played the other three. You know.
Yeah,
we're buying the new Switch.
Yeah,
I'm not buying that game though, but you can buy it.
I might buy it. I like the Metroid games. It's been, dude, this is how long it's been since there has been a Metroid Prime game. Is that I was a Nintendo fan when Metroid Prime 3 came out. Like, I was well in the trenches still, in the fanboy trenches at that point in my life.
So you haven't played Dread?
Dread, that's the
Switch.
Which one? Oh, is that the Mercury Steam one?
Yeah.
Oh no, I have not played that. But that's
it's actually really good.
Yeah, I heard that was pretty good, but I don't like Mercury Steam, so I'm not gonna. Those guys are scumbags.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, fair enough.
Fuck them.
Okay, guys, that's it. Another episode in the books. Thank you both for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. Before we go, any final thoughts or anything you want to say, or should we just get out of here?
I've got this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've got this little dog.
Oh, squishy dog.
Yeah, I found this in my closet. I was looking through things, and this used to be on my desk at my old job at the IT office. It was excellent for when you're on the phone with a mean person. You're just like, Karen, I could crush your soul.
Yeah.
And it's been very nice to just kind of need this little doughy object during the show. This is the new thing. I also have this Microsoft Outlook one that I got at a expo one year. So
nice.
Yeah. Now I'm back onto the what do you call these, like stress balls?
Stress balls, yeah. I think that's what it.
Yeah. Well, we're into it now. We're back, baby.
Okay,
cool.
All right, cool. All right, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you next episode. Take care and goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.